Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. However you happen to be watching and joining us, thank you and welcome to the Gaming Circle podcast, where every week we try to have some fun. You know, we try to be light and have some levity in our lives.
Speak for yourself.
This week it might be a little difficult, but we'll still give it the old college try as we do, and we do it as we want to do, as I want to do, every week. With my brother, the man who needs no introduction, but I still give him one every week anyway. Mr. Everborn Saga, how you doing today, sir?
I may not need a introduction, but I want one.
Hey, it's always good. You deserve one. You're here almost every week.
Wow, one time I do a family thing, and then there we go. And like, for the record, you just you made it clear that I could be replaced that 1 week. He's like, oh
no, stop it.
You just happen to have somebody lined up.
Welcome, Big Bad Mo. Appreciate you for joining us as well.
I'm good, I'm good.
You good? Yeah. How's your week been?
I'm lots of balancing work and creativity. One thing I do want to say before we get into this. Thank you to you and everybody else who supported that Kickstarter campaign. I'm just seeing a lot of people finally get the books in their hands. And even the people that didn't support the campaign, because it's available generally now, people that are just ordering the books and getting into the story. So everybody that supports Everborn in general for anything, like seeing you guys share those books is like the highlight of everything. Like, this is years in the making, and having like that physical thing that was an idea in your head come out and sharing that with everybody is I cannot describe the feeling. I'm over here, just every tweet that comes in where somebody shares it, I'm looking at that, I'm showing it to the wife, like, oh, look at this one. And it's, because in the beginning, it was only people that knew me personally that would buy the books, like, like direct friends and family. But like, it's surreal to see. And we got a lot more stuff coming. So I'm good, man. All in all, I'm good. I was lied to by Kevin Smith, but,
that's a different conversation.
Yes, that's a different conversation.
Yes. If you missed that conversation, you can catch it. Actually, last Thursday we had a bit of it. I'm sure next Thursday we'll probably have a bit more. That is the On the Real podcast that we'll be having more conversations of Masters of the Universe.
Be clear,
I'm Mr. Everborn Saga's channel.
I am clipping the first time we discussed it when y'all told me I was being hyperbolic and it's not a bait and switch and wait and see. Don't worry,
use it against us.
Yes,
okay.
Crow will be fed.
And I see the gentleman filing in. Welcome, OG. Good to have you in here. Good to chat with you yesterday, by the way. Real good. Welcome, Mr. Slow-Mo Backslap. He's here for the smoke. It's all good.
Oh, man.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you all for joining. Yes. So yes. And before we continue to what you just said, I will be, and this will be the first and probably the last time you hear this, so you better clip it. Beyond the brother that I work with, I was a fan before I knew him for real. I love that entrepreneurial spirit, that go get it, that do it by yourself, make it work, because nobody else will help you, so you got to help yourself. I've always been that way with indie developers, people who do it for themselves. And this man is not only a book writer, not only a creator of the comic, he also has a game that I'm also been playing around and testing with. So, such beaming with such pride, all the pride in the world, and you really deserve it. Big fan, roses, accolades. I think it's wonderful for somebody to get something across the finish line, and to do it in such great professional, capacity. All the best. You deserve it, not because I know you, but because it is so damn hard to get anything done at all in anything, in any aspect, and to be able to do it consistently and well. You deserve it, bro. So all the best to you. Continued. So yes.
And thank you, OG. He just got the books. Thank you, Slow-Mo.
Yeah.
I need Slow-Mo's review, because Slow-Mo is like myself. He is a fantasy nerd, right? He's into all of the Dune, which is an unfilmable movie. And and the Brandon Sanderson Stormlight Archive, all these things. Slow-Mo knows about that, so I definitely want to hear what Slow-Mo thinks about that.
And you know, one of these days, that may be a topic for another conversation in the background, but we might want to do a spoiler cast a little bit on the old Everborn saga, depending on the book.
It could go down.
Let's chat it up. Maybe we'll get Slow involved. You know, hook it up. We'll do something interesting. But yes, let's talk about that and get to it. So before we get into the meat and potatoes,
we need the Everborn review from Slow-Mo. I think he caught on a little late.
Yeah, you know, it'd be good. We'll chop it up with you, man. We want to definitely do something special in that realm. The one you showed me on the Everborn Saga channel was really good. I had some issues with the recording and whatnot, but the actual quality, dude did a great review. I enjoyed it. Next time, tell him to do it in landscape.
No, that was because he did it on
TikTok. I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
And I asked him to send me the thing, but never got
just giving you some BS. Don't worry about it. He did a damn good job, though. I really liked what he had to say. He was dynamic. It was good. I really appreciated it. But let's get started. So, what have you been playing, good sir?
I've been playing a lot of things, and one of these, I broke one of my rules this week, where normally I do not feed trolls, but this week I had time. Okay. I was in a one of these this Twitter Spaces, like the fake clubhouse that Twitter's trying to steal.
Fake clubhouse. You were in crossfire. I saw you, man.
Yeah, I jumped in. You know, I don't know why, but I thought we were having a respectful conversation, and dudes was in there calling people FNs and this, that, and the third.
Dropping N-words left and right. I'm like, I was about to say request, and as soon as I'm like, nah, man, this ain't for me. The facts went there, I went the other way.
Right, but you know, I saw like clips. I saw people take screenshots of the last few games I played, and I just finished Plague's Tale last week. And so I'm trying to find the next game, and then there's all these indie games out. Like,
so they're calling you out using your own. That's great.
No, listen.
People have too much time on their hands.
So it's like, Raji 0 achievements, Death's Door 0 achievements, the Dungeons and Dragons that just came out 0 achievements.
Man, get
no, but this is the thing. This is the thing. I'm testing out all these games to see which one is going to be the next one that I finish, because that's what I do during the week. And he says that he clips that like it was saying something. And I'm just thinking, the beauty of Game Pass. I can try all these things and
decide where you want to keep. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so Death's Door. People keep calling it like a Zelda. I don't agree with that. It is a top-down sort of action adventure game, but it does not give me Zelda vibes. Now, what does give me Zelda vibes is Tunic. Now, weirdly enough, after what I just said, I feel like Death's Door takes the wind out of the sails of Tunic, because I think that they mastered that dash mechanic a lot better. There's no dash meter. And that was the big thing on the latest Tunic demo that kind of put me away from it. Like I finished it, but it was like it was an unnecessary hindrance to playing that. And I don't know if we said this. Just one other thing, right? Because this is also early this week that I finished Plague's Tale. A Plague's Tale 2 better have some melee combat in it, or some parries. Or blocking or dodging.
It better be more than the indie potential that A Plague's Tale 1 was.
Because I really enjoyed the story to that game and the visuals, but I found myself like it almost felt like I was only playing to learn about the story, not because I enjoyed playing.
It's very Hellblade in that way, where the first one is full of potential, but you can see where it needs to get better, and now but you bigger, better in their way, you know.
You could block in Hellblade. The problem with this is you want to tell me that Amicia is on the road for a year, you know what I'm saying, living in castles, doing all of these things, going against the English army, and not once did she learn. Yeah, the Inquisition, sorry, but not once did she learn how to use a knife or a sword. Not once. You couldn't teach yourself that.
And you know what? to that in that mode, how is it that in the entire movie, the entire game, you know, and things change, but by and large, her weapon of choice is a slingshot, and there are armored men with swords and shields and this and that, and all you need is a slingshot? Like, get
Yeah,
out of
and
here,
and
bro.
and
You know,
and
it's a little much.
the other problem with it for me was even if it was the slingshot, you don't really. I didn't feel a sense of agency.
Yeah, you don't have purpose with that slingshot. It's not your slingshot that you can shoot. It's almost like at some point they give you the opportunity to, and when you're roughly close, they let you. You know, they have assist weird, and it's just
right. But it's also
the story was more important to them than the gameplay, and you can tell that in playing of it.
As soon as they get too close, it's a canned animation of them killing you.
That's
not really like you can actually dodge or block or do those things.
It's like an advanced Telltale game, advanced Telltale game. So like it's all about that story, and sometimes to them it looks like the gameplay gets in the way, and then they'll kind of yada the gameplay along to get you to the next part of the story. It's very story, you know.
Also, last thing I'll say about that is the rats were an issue for the missus because she's terrified of them. She can't even hear them. So I could not play while she was around, right? And then I had to play it with headphones. You know what I'm saying, when she was sleeping, because if she hears that, that's it.
Same thing with me. It was just but the quality that was rendered on screen, that was just next level. And I started playing that thing on the 1X, and it was still good there. And then when I started, like, and then I think I even played it on PC for a little bit. Holy! So I get the potential. It's just, you're right. They need to spend as much of that budget on the gameplay as they did on the story. Call back to a previous episode where we discussed something like this. If this game was reviewed on easy mode, it would make sense, because their priority in there is more skewed towards the story, clearly, than it is towards
then you do Telltale.
Gameplay. It is an advanced Telltale, yes.
Now, what the last thing?
Scrub, thank you so much for joining us, Scrub Nurse. Continue. Yes.
The last thing I tried out was Raji, and that game, and the crazy thing about the game is it's actual real
real mythology by developers who are really into that from India, from the region. It is them speaking to us, telling us their story. Yes,
right. And it is like
I love you can switch it to actual Indian language and then have English subtitles underneath.
I'm not doing that, but
it is really cool. I love that they're doing this.
It's like hardcore fantasy, and it's real mythology. It's not something somebody made up. And so to me, and just the presentation in general is great. I would love to see something with that's covering that mythology with like a big budget sort of AAA kind of thing, because I think what they're doing there is great, and I'm leaning more towards that than I am towards Death Door, although I really like Death Door. So I might end up flipping a coin between those two
and seeing. Okay, speaking to Raji, right when that came out, I played the demo. I haven't played the final version, and I loved the demo. I was so impressed. As I said, I love different voices. I want more voices to come to join the conversation, and to be able to have native speaking language on, and they're really doing it from a place of, passion, because it's their stuff and they're trying to, this is their introductory to the world. This is what they also can contribute. I think it's absolutely great. I'm looking forward to really giving it a shot. Speaking to the whole Raji thing, when they announced that, and I was excited for it, it did also like point out that is it Ubisoft? Yeah, Ubisoft is also allowing an Indian developer to remake the first Prince of Persia.
Prince of Persia, that's it. Hey, go take this forward. I got a contract at the door. I got to go.
Please
tell them stuff.
Go for it.
Go.
No worries.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. Do you? It's all good. So anyway, when they announced that Prince of Persia was going to be brought forward and it was going to be allowed to be made by so they were going to allow that developer to do it. We were really, really, really impressed, and I'm actually looking forward now to what ends up happening with that studio, with the Prince of Persia remake. it's gotten me a lot more excited, and because of actually the Raji developer being allowed to be featured the way they are, that's why it's gotten me there. So I'm actually pretty excited to see what they can now do because of this. So I haven't actually played it yet. I did play the demo of Raji, but I'm gonna hold off for a while. And there's so much on my to playlist at this point, so I'm gonna try and just be easy and see what I can do. So before he gets to us, let me share a little bit of video and stuff of what I've been playing. As we've already been talking about it, I've been playing Death's Door. So let me play a little bit of that. And for those who haven't had a chance to play it, oh man, like, it is old school. I know there's been a lot of Zelda comparisons thrown around, and later in the conversation, later in the game, you'll see a bit more of that Zelda aesthetic kind of shining through. But even in the beginning, it is old school difficulty, Mega Man level. Hey, it's not hard for being hard. It's hard because this is how you got to do it. And you'll keep banging your head against the wall until you break the wall or you break your head. But it is interesting and fun in the best ways. This game has been stated that this game was made by two people. Now, usually that tends to be slogans. I mean, I bet you in real effect, you'll find that the game was probably mainly made by two folks, but then there are probably freelance workers for art, freelance workers for music, and all of that is just hitting on all cylinders. It is absolutely fantastic. I mean, it is just wow. And I guess when Everborn, when he comes back, I guess we can talk about that. But what I wanted to have a conversation about this to me is what Returnal was missing. And I know some folks will say, "Hey, what's up with the comparison is weird." Yes, Returnal's, their what do you call it? The roguelike element of rinse repeat. You go a run, you make a mistake, you die, you go it again. Yeah, the mistake they made, in my opinion, with Returnal that this actually doesn't have a problem with is they are short, hard sets of little windows where little dungeons, if you will, where you go there, bunch of enemies, they throw them at you, and they're basically enemy puzzles. It's a puzzle, figure it out, right? This one does this one does that, and eventually you'll end up figuring it out. It's meant to, this small room, you go in, you try, you fail, and then boom, you die, and you go right back in. That's what got me hooked. It started off with, I'll just give this a try. And then boom, you go in there. Oh, I almost had it. And you go back in, and you go back in. I was 4 or 5 hours deep. Another run, and another run, and another run. And guess who is surprising us? Ladies and gentlemen, it is Mr. Boomstick Excel himself. Oh, we are not worthy. We are definitely not worthy.
Shit.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is awesome.
Oh,
The man just decided to sneak up through the back door.
And he does not podcast on Saturdays. This
on Saturdays, man.
I never do.
Thank you so much.
Well, fortunately, Mrs. Boomstick is doing some work on the computer, so we're not chilling. We just had breakfast with Boom. She had.
I see what you did there.
Like that, right? And so she's doing some work. I figured I'd come on here, 10, 15, 20 minutes. I saw the topic. I had to support my brothers. Obviously, this is a topic that we're going to cover on Monday's show. I wanted to give my 2 cents on it. When you get to it, I am going to say that the game that's on the screen right now is normally not a Boom game. It's not that the difficulty scares me away; it infuriates me, and that's not why I play games. Right? I play games for fun, for enjoyment, and dying 1,000 times on said boss, not my thing. Here's the thing that's interesting. Before I met the witch, which by the way I've beaten. Awesome. I only died 6 times in 4 hours.
Okay,
which is crazy. This game it has a difficulty spike that can go through the roof. And I'm not sure why, but I'm enjoying it. I think this is going to be a Game of the Year contender.
I agree. Yeah.
I think that this has surprised a lot of people. If you don't know who Acid Nerve is, this is a 2-man team. That put a $20 game together that came on sale from its jumpstart, which again, this is something that we can get into if you guys haven't already. What Sony fails to understand about the indie community and why. And again, this is another topic, because Monday's show is gonna be 2 topics. First half, original topic by Mag, who's writing it for the alleged sexual misconducts that were reported upon at Activision, but now recently at Insomniac Games. And I think, folks,
we're going to talk about that today. Yep.
I think, folks, we are in for an awakening in this industry. Yeah, it starts with one report, and then it makes its way through. Everyone's starting to, again, if it's false, we have to claim it's false. Indeed. But there's a lot of stuff going on that may or may not.
Going on. Yeah, a lot of smoke going on for sure.
So, but thank you guys for having me in. I appreciate it. And of course, I want to
whenever you're ready, you just speak and it's all yours, man. Come on now, this is amazing. Now, real quick before we move on from this game, and I know.
Can I say one thing about this game?
Please.
Yeah. I don't understand how the sort of hitboxes work in terms of like you're running up to her right now, but hitting her body, touching her body won't hit you, but the tentacles will hit you.
Yes.
And it's hard to understand sometimes where, because I was scared to get close, but then I realized like right now you can hit her. Right?
Yes, you can. Yeah, but it's weird to get close. Indeed, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So that was a thing that I'm still trying to wrap my head around with that. I just found it weird. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no. It's a good point. And I actually experienced some of that myself. What I wanted to really quickly touch on before we move on was this is what Returnal needed to do that they didn't do. Small little arenas of enemies. Yeah. Little puzzles. Right? Yeah. You go in, you either succeed or you fail, and you try again. You go in, you succeed or you fail, and you try again. Next window, you go in. This is the idea of Metroidvania, and I mean in this game, there's a little bit of nuances and differences there, right? Depending on how your XP goes, and further down the line, you'll get different things that will open up different avenues for you, both for traversal and also for combat and all that. But it's all about that repeatable one more level, one more time. And unfortunately, Returnal got the really cool adventure stuff going, but then you have 4 or 5 hours deep and then you die once and you lose it all, and that's
what's funny. I actually put on Returnal last night and remembered exactly why I stopped playing.
You hated it.
Right? Course. Because I love the combat and the loot, but I had that bug again where if your health is low, so you go back to the ship to sleep and refill your health, and then the sleep function. No, the doors open, but the sleep function doesn't work. Oh, and again, after running around for an hour, that shit happens again.
Yeah, no good.
Right?
This is why I haven't purchased the game. That is the reason.
Sure. And what happens is you have to. I don't know if it's that you need to clear a room or whatever it is. When you go in certain rooms, if you leave that room to go back, they want you to finish whatever was happening in that room before they allow you to sleep. Or it's just a bug. I don't know, but they don't explain it, right? So you know what Returnal is like? Returnal is like the really like hot girlfriend that cheats on you, and then you say, "I'm never gonna call her again," but the sex was so good.
Back. Oh, here you go.
So it's funny. Before he even said anything, I knew that's where he was going. I just knew it.
Saturday morning slander. It's a beautiful thing. That's going to be a new segment. Time for Saturday morning slander.
No, man, fuck that game. That's what it is. That's the slander. I'm never playing that again. I'm deleting it. That's what I'm doing after this show.
I will play that game when two things happen. One or two things. One, it's $20. And it's somewhere sitting in a bargain bin, which I will then buy the physical copy. Or they add it to PlayStation Plus, and I can play it for the absolute best price of free.
Yeah, but it's not even the money. Boom, it's the time. Time is money.
Well, see, and there's another piece of the puzzle.
Your time.
There's another piece of the puzzle that could get added, right? Just like Ghost of Tsushima got a new mode that really switches it up. I can foresee them finally, after a while, listening to the consumer base and going, you know what? Yeah. Here's an adventure mode. And all of the death repeat stuff is no longer a factor there. Here's an adventure mode. You play through it the normal way, or there's some saves here. A different mode.
It's
that
funny.
Might save this thing.
You talk about saves. So here's the thing that's interesting with this, with Death's Door. You get to a certain aspect, and it's not just one; it's actually several points in the level that allow you a door to open up. That you open up, you go in, you refill your health, you come back out.
That's right.
And
then
you go
anytime
do your
you
thing.
die, you go right back to that door. Yep.
And I think the board that I was on with the witches one was rather large. I think that was the one in the factory,
the mansion, right?
Yeah, it was the part of that, and then went into the factory where you had to go find her and hit all these switches like that. Right there, perfect example.
Right here, yeah. Here's basically a checkpoint.
This gives you a direct run. So if you have enough points, you can go level up.
That's right, and then you can go back when you're ready.
Yeah, they did it right.
Returnal's missing that, definitely.
It absolutely is, and I love the adventure mode ideology behind that, because I think that more people would potentially play it if they
jump
could
in,
enjoy it. Yeah. Because I think I'm gonna tell you this right now. Everyone really just hit on something. Time is money, right? Your time is important, and I think he actually said this on Twitter that they don't respect your time. And that is the biggest problem. If a company, I don't care whether it's a 2-man team or a 200-man team, when they don't respect the player's time, that is where we run into a monster problem. And I think that is what is going to. I mean, a lot of people love the Returnal. Joe, Mr. Badbit, is a perfect example of that. He loves these very difficult games, and he platinumed it, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't mind being difficult, though. That's fine. Be as hard as you want, but respect my progress.
Yep.
Right. You know I play Halo on Legendary, right? And it will take me a month to get through the campaign on Legendary. But when I clear a room, that motherfucker is clear.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. I said this before, like, I don't have like fuck you money, but I don't have time for this shit money. And when I'm playing something, respect my time. I got other things to do. Right.
So you know what? On the note of respecting time, we will respect Mr. Boomstick Excel's time, and we'll fast forward this and get to the topic at hand, right?
Because I can do an hour on how.
Oh yeah, I know you can, bro.
You know, I'm gonna have to figure out a time to get on the reel, because all of this Marvel stuff.
Oh, that'll be fun too. Can't wait for that.
I don't know.
Did you watch Masters of the Universe?
No. We have
not. I need to have a conversation to you about this, Boom.
Yes, we need to have a conversation for sure. You need to watch it. It's not long.
You know what it is? Right now, we are unbelievably addicted to Korean TV.
I heard you saying that on Twitter.
And we are in the midst of a show called The Bad Guys. And we just we watched them. I mean, they're all the big ones we've watched. And we are like we were never like TV goers, movie goers, Mrs. Boom for sure. But the TV stuff, we just can't stop watching it. It's so addicting. It's a lot of police dramas, a lot of murder dramas, stuff like that. So we have the Masters of the Universe on the list for sure. But I don't know if you guys heard the report. And real quick, I don't want to throw you off your topic. Captain Carter from the What If series. Is basically
Doctor Strange.
Yes, sir. She's going to be in Doctor Strange multiverse.
Captain Carter is my favorite MCU character. She gets dashed too much. I'm so excited.
What If is canon now?
Yeah, What If is canon? Yes, and as a matter of fact, I think what they're building in What If, because they've already, if you guys, whether you folks listening or not, heard, they're building an Avengers level team that's going to be the protectors of the multiverse. And that's why she's episode 1 going to be building it like Captain America was. And it's going to be dope.
It looks like OG TK Cole also watches The Bad Guys. I'm hearing a lot of good things about this.
Dude, they and now granted, it's a little old. The Bad Guy, there was a movie, and now there's a series from 2014. They just released the 2018 series, the follow-up series with different characters. It's basically the Suicide Squad chasing real MFs, like murderers and rapists and people trafficking and stuff like that. It's really good. Ultra violent. Violent.
And that's probably what's pulling y'all to the yard. That cool violence.
Miss Boomstick loves the violence. No,
do you watch it? Do you watch it dubbed or subbed?
We watch it dubbed. No, subbed. We watch it subbed. Yeah, we because sometimes
a man of culture.
Yeah, you know what
that's
it is.
Right. Seasoned man. That's right.
There are some times where we don't want to have to read, but like in games, it pulls you kind of out, right? Like when you don't get the actual language, because the way, like for instance, the Japanese or the Koreans express themselves in these shows, you got to hear that oomph. You know what I'm saying? You don't get that in the dubbed.
Yeah,
you know
the translation loses something.
Yes,
yeah, it helps to keep it in its original language. I hear you. Okay, again, a good plug. This Thursday on the Real, Everborn Saga's YouTube channel. We'll be chopping it up. We'll continue the Masters Universe. I hope you'll watch it by then. It's a very short season.
It's 6 episodes, right?
Five episodes.
5 episodes. If anybody has
5 episodes of Tila and the Masters in the Universe.
Stop it. If anybody's remotely a He-Man fan, watch this show. We got conversations we want to have.
It's funny because listen, real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
No, real quick. Let me just throw this out there. This is directly from Mrs. Boomstick. When I told her, she saw the animation. The animation is solid. She goes, I don't know about the story based on the thing. So I said, well, there is some controversy going on that it's not about He-Man, that it's about Tila. And you know what her response was? She's such a detective. She's so smart. Well, to be honest with you, Craig, it says Masters of the Universe, not
It doesn't
He-Man.
say He-Man in the Masters. Exactly.
Okay. See, now you got me started. No,
I will pull co-host privilege and say Thursday you will hear the full-throated slander of Masters.
I'm not going to slander. I'm just going to say one sentence.
Please.
All of the marketing has He-Man front and fucking center.
Yes.
Of course.
So
because they're trying to pull all of us.
Okay. That's all I'm going to say. You can call it Masters of the Universe if you want, but the marketing all says it's a He-Man show, and they lied. Well, and the show was great.
Is it lying, or is it trying to save the?
That's right.
The surprise of the what the.
That's not a surprise.
It's a different way of looking at it. Boom. I'm just saying. It's a way
I'm not gonna do it. I'm not even gonna. I have a response. I'm telling you. But if I start,
Everborn the Slanderer Saga, and on the Real podcast this Thursday. Please check on it.
Boy.
I will move quickly along, but before I do, I will say I have been playing, besides Death Door, which I've really enjoyed, Bloodroot. If you haven't tried it,
Bloodroot is really good. It's
holy
addicting.
Crap. It's addicting just like this. It is a puzzle box of mayhem and murder. It's awesome. Check it out. And it's very much
one hit kills. That's right. The day. Keep that in the back of your mind, because it is a very much a rinse and repeat. But I can't stop playing kind of a game.
Neither can I. Exactly.
And again,
it's very Devolver Digital style.
It's
great. Yeah.
It's really good. Again, this is what we're going to be talking about on Monday on the second half of the show, of how Xbox Game Pass has become the place for indies. I got a couple of stories that I pulled where indies are coming out and saying, no, wait a second. Working with Game Pass has been the best that we've ever done.
Yes.
And you know something? This comes off the heels, folks, of 2 weeks ago when we talked about how Sony has basically shit in the mouths of all indies, and they're not in the mouth anymore. Yeah, pretty much.
Indeed. Real quick, continue the tradition of always agreeing with putting on whoever agrees. Mr. Mag has he hit the nail on the head, but we'll just let that one sit there real quick. Y'all who choose to read it can do so, and we'll move quickly along.
Nobody's safe, and everybody could get the smoke.
Indeed,
you know what? That's fair. That's fair.
It is fair.
I will ruin your childhood in a minute. But go ahead.
So, and that's why this conversation is so good that we have Mr. Everborn Saga here, because when I first, and we're transitioning to the topic at hand here, when I first got wind of what we were talking about today, I'll be honest with you, it was gloom and doom, depression, anger, all the above. This right here, this headline would be the beginning of it, right? But it's not really the beginning of it. It's the beginning of this latest iteration of conversation, right?
Yes.
I would say that there's even conversation that has been happening with this guy. See, as you can see, this article is more than a year old. There's a lot of.
That's me. That's the contractors.
Okay, no worries. You need to use that the NVIDIA broadcast, bro. It'll mute all that out. Needless to say, yes. Yeah. Yes. So we're having this conversation, and every time there's a conversation about, and they're gonna fix it this time, and Yves Guillemot comes out, we've heard it, it's gonna be different this time, and still to this very day not a damn thing has changed. Now,
nope.
What are we talking about? We're talking about toxicity in the gaming industry. Now, we're talking sexual harassment, we're talking about discriminatory behavior,
yes,
we're talking about all that stuff that keeps getting lumped in. What the recent conversation was more about the female experience in these game developer studios. We will preface all of this by saying, it's always a disclaimer that folks tend to make. Clearly, we are different versions of hetero males on this stage. So, obviously, it would be nice to have someone with the lived experience to be able to explain that. We are a new show. We actually have I have a few conversations in the works for one day, bringing somebody on who might be able to speak more closely to that experience. But a quick anecdote before we begin. The reason why I was confident in having this conversation is during the whole Black Lives Matter movement, the people were talking about this and that. I, as a person who I am, found it quite useful to walk into, listen to a podcast or walk into a chat room and then see people who don't look like me having those conversations, because I always feel like it's always so preachy for us to be telling y'all what we're feeling. It's great when the allies get the message and continue the conversation without us. And yes. I'm hoping that in this context, we can be that for somebody else. And I will come out and say it right now. I won't necessarily speak for my brothers on the panel, but to me, those who have made these complaints, whether they're true, whether they're not, whether they should be taken seriously and fully investigated.
Correct. Yeah.
And more and more and more and more of these things keep popping up left and right, and no studios are safe. No hero companies are safe. We're always finding more of these, and it's becoming more and more egregious. And we need to actually, as men in this environment, have a conversation about how we ourselves don't feel comfortable and are really, really upset. People with kids and children are upset.
That's a great OG
with this whole situation.
That's a fantastic point. Yes. It says, I'm a father of a 20-year-old daughter, and these allegations bother me a lot. And you know something?
So bad.
I don't have children, and I'm going to tell you this right now. It sickens me. And as a former law enforcement who understands that you are innocent until proven guilty, that goes for said people, person, companies. We have to understand that we are going to talk about this right now, and we are going to revisit this conversation with an original topic from Mag, who's writing it as we speak. And yesterday, Kay Asante, I polled our DM because this is a topic that is very touchy. This is a topic that must maintain absolute respect and seriousness too. And of course, I would not dare run a topic as serious as this without polling our brothers, our group of men that are on our panel each and every Monday to talk about a subject that is very, very serious. I know these gaming podcasts are meant for fun. They're meant for, to talk about your favorite experience or company or game that was just released. But there is a time in gaming, and like I said in the DM, and I will reiterate it, I find it to be a responsibility of us to talk about something as serious as this. Now, again, folks, we have to say that we're not choosing sides. We're not damning said person, persons, or company, but we are going to talk about it because, like I said a few moments ago, we are on the cusp of this becoming a very open and widespread phenomenon that is going to get eyes and ears. And I'm not doing this for clicks. I'm not doing this, in case Ante and everyone not doing this for subs. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do. And I think that we can have an adult conversation about a very serious topic and still make it an interesting conversation at that. I'll leave and I'll let you continue.
No. Beautifully, perfectly said. Highly agreed. All counts. Evan, what's your top level comment? Yeah, go ahead.
So to me, you know, I think this is more of, and I said this to you offline, right? I think this is a thing that has always been going on. It's like the people that try to pretend like, there's like black people haven't had issues with the police for a while. It's just that now they're recording it, but it's been happening for a while, and now you're seeing this. And I think, don't think don't think that this is separate from, people look at the company. I always say you got to separate the art from the artist and things like that. Don't think because it's a company that you like that these things aren't possible. And don't be surprised if you hear this thing coming out of way more, because all it takes is for somebody to kind of speak up, and it gives other people the courage to speak up.
Yes.
The thread.
And just ask yourselves,
right, open floodgates right here. This thread.
Just
continue, please.
If you try to explain this away and say it's just business, or if they want to play with the big boys, this or that, ask yourself, if it was your daughter, would you want them to do that? And if you say yes, then cool, have at it. But if you, and that's the always thing you got to ask yourself. If it was your mom or your sister or your daughter or your wife, would you want them to have to go to any place and have to deal with that? And if your answer is no, then you should be, on the side of these people. But
that's right.
Continue from there. But that's my opening salvo.
Perfect opening salvo. And this is exactly what I was looking for from you. So for those in the chat who may not necessarily have been keeping up with all of this, I will be putting a few threads out. You can find some more links and sources after the show. I'll post a bunch of them in the show notes. In the upload for this video. There's just so much to read, so much evidence, so much of a historical information, and it's not just limited to one company. Ubisoft has been lingering for a while.
I want to say something else.
Go ahead.
That I forgot, and I apologize.
No.
Please. Jez had brought up a very interesting point, and this comes back to sort of what I was saying, that separate the art from the artist. Not everyone people should get fired, people should get held accountable, people that did worse should get worse. However, I see a lot of people saying, I'm going to boycott Activision and all these things. And I get it, like, speak with your wallet, but there are thousands of people that can work on a game, and the majority of them are good people that just want their work out there. And so I think we have to take that into account. Like I said, people need to be held accountable, but when we say we're going to boycott, do the people that worked very hard just to bring us these things that we love and didn't have anything to do with that and didn't know about it
suffer? Yeah,
exactly. So it's just a thing to keep in mind when we say we're not gonna, we're gonna boycott these things.
And I just want to add to that because it something happened. I watched, Joseph and I watched the news. It's depressing, but we still watch the news because we want to stay informed. To that point, folks, I understand. Maybe not like at today on Saturday, July 24th, but at some point in the future, or we've seen in the past, it was very hip to condemn all police officers for the behavior of a few motherfuckers, right? That ruin it. Like what happened with the choke thing set back policing 100 years. I'm going to tell you that right now. And we will hear more about that, because what does that do? It sells. It sells the click. It sells the story. And the story is important, but some people abuse it. Here's a perfect example of exactly what everyone just said. On Thursday, there was a police officer that saved someone's life here in New York with a bag of chips. With a Lay's bag of chips. He was stabbed he had a sucking wound in his lung. He opened them up. He covered it. He got the bodega to donate tape. He taped him closed. He saved that man's life. That story was 2 minutes and 42 seconds. Yep. Saved someone's life with a bag of chips.
Why? Where's the Twitter trend on that? Yeah.
Right.
Where's the
2 minutes 42 seconds. And very much like we're seeing this Sol Brennan, who says that she believes her career is going to be finished.
That's right.
Which is scary. Remember,
That's
you
right.
know, if you lose your job as a police officer or a mailman or something that you have trained to do, you're not going to get rehired in that field. So it's scary. So she is obviously a game developer that worked for Insomniac, and is now coming out in the defense of her fellow women in gaming. And like I said, we will learn more of this as she's claiming that she has tons of witnesses.
And I got to tell you, Boom, this specific part threw me for a loop. I mean, you know,
the
say
sexual,
what you will,
like the predator that has been has potentially raped people is still at the company.
And somebody like, and you have Activision talking about like some of their behavior led to somebody taking their own life. Like specifically with Insomniac, it threw me for a loop. Say what you will. You could play Xbox games exclusively. You could play whatever. Insomniac is known as the best of the best.
Yes.
As far as culture and as far as output. Threw me for a frigging loop, honestly.
But isn't that all?
Ted Price is an amazing human being. Every time you see him speak, I am stunned.
He's the Phil Spencer of that company.
Yes, and he's so great.
Yeah, he is.
I have always respected Ted Price as such a great dude. Yeah. And now I'm just like, wow. Like, there are no heroes in this game. I'm waiting for the next Microsoft studio to go, oh, by the way, this is what happens at our, you know, this is horrible. We need to do, like, and as far to your point, Everborn, as far as folks saying vote with your wallet, I hear you on that. My goal that I would like to see is specifically with Blizzard, fire that damn CEO.
Yes.
Fire that damn CEO.
Yeah.
And you know why I'm saying that specifically? Because with him, there's even video of him back before he was the CEO where and I'm sure it's made the rounds at this point. I won't play it. Like, I'm sure you can find it. Where literally they're at BlizzCon and one of these women gets up and says, we all love your games. You make strong female characters, but I have a question. Can you please make sure that the next game you make doesn't have them look like they just stepped out of a Victoria's Secret catalog? Right? As soon as she says this, all the women in the room, and there's a lot of them, cheer. All the men, boo. On the stage is the CEO and a bunch of other developers. Their first question, well, which catalog do you want them to step out of? And then they spend the next 15 minutes berating her, making her feel like SHIT for just bringing that up. Like,
that was a terrible answer. And you know, whatever comes from, like, he deserved the booze. I do understand the concept of saying, and again, I'm saying he didn't answer this properly, right?
I think I know where you're going with this.
I understand the concept of saying, like, when you see Captain America, he's not supposed to look like me. I'm not talking about skin color.
That.
I'm saying he's not supposed to have a pot belly.
He's supposed to be a
of
representation the alpha.
Right.
Of the alpha.
So the women should look like that as well, because they're idealized.
But the point of that, this specific company has such a history of misogyny and all of this. You guys got to be careful with this stuff. Some people with these words. You cannot.
I think what the way he should have responded is, well, what catalog would you like them to walk out of? Lane Bryant, for instance, is a woman, as a store for plus size women. And if he would have said that, it would have been understood that he was like, okay, so what for you is, because I like when you pick a character and you can make that size character represent you, whether it be plus size or skinny as a stick,
or whatever you want. That's right.
Whatever you personally desire is fantastic.
Yeah.
His response,
it was
it's
just
indicative
of that culture.
It was a gross response,
and it's a simple question. It's a simple, funny little line, but it, like, speaking with all the historical evidence that we now have of that company, it was so indicative of that culture, and that just needs to stop. Like, come on.
Well, this is the start of something that is not going to go away.
You're going to hear it from your favorite companies.
Yes, you are. You are.
But this is why you shouldn't worship companies.
That's right. That's right. And you know what? Let's move. Let's keep it going even deeper into this. So we were talking about the general harassment in the environment. I'll come out and say that is a big reason why I don't play multiplayer games. Activision, funny enough, has early on in gaming, whenever there was opportunities to do testing and beta testing and stuff like that, I signed up. So I get to, like, sometimes they send me emails. Activision sends me stuff to test stuff for multiplayer. Ubisoft, I test certain games that haven't been released. EA, similarly, I keep getting emails for this stuff as well. And a lot of stuff that they focused me on whenever they send me emails is, so why don't you play online and tell us about your experience and this. And I am tired of people using racial slurs at me the moment
That's why I don't play online.
they discover.
I hate to say that. I'm right there with you.
Me too.
Yep.
13-year-old.
Yeah,
saying
I'm
stuff
tired,
that they think is funny.
Right.
That's right. I am
gross.
tired of people being free and clear to be as disgusting as they choose to be because, oh, well, it's no big deal. My daughter wants to play online with her friends. I refuse to let her do that. Why?
Well,
because of all of this stuff. Because all it takes is one, yes, you can build the walled garden, and we're working on that and all of that. But if you one time that you throw her into Gen Pop and it changes the equation altogether.
It really does.
Please, everyone, speak.
So I made a decision back in the 360 days because I, like Brap, I don't talk about this all the time, but I was also an Xbox Live beta tester. Romeo RX2 was my Xbox Live name at that time.
You always find out more about a person when you hear about their Hotmail name.
That was my Xbox Live name when I was beta testing, all until the 360 came out. And then I switched it on the day of the 360 launch because of whatever. Anyway,
that's a different conversation. We need to get back to.
I'll
tell you my original screen name, but it's not what you think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like I made a decision back in the 360 days to say if I haven't met you in person, I'm not playing with you online. I did that. It does suck, but because I tried like you said, the Gen Pop and all that, and it was crazy.
It's disgusting.
When you hear those little kids saying whatever they think is funny, and they got these like ridiculously high screechy voices, calling you a monkey or saying all of that, or I'll come kill you. Of that, like,
what was it? A month ago, a T-Pain made like CNN news because as soon as he walked into a game chat, he walked into a game.
Hold
chat.
On, put up Mac's comment. Put up Mac's comment.
Yes, of course. You're damn right.
That's why.
Wait till you hear mine. My original screen name, and it's not what you think, was Love Gun 9mm. And it's because of my affection for Kiss. That's my favorite band of all time. That's one of their songs. So I try to do Destroyer. I try to do every other name. Love Gun stuff.
It was the only one that came out.
And then when the 360 started, Mr. Boomstick XL was born. And that is, of course, from my love of the Evil Dead.
Okay. Mine originally was Afro Samurai.
That's cool.
You could have kept that. I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah, I could still do that. Yes, I even have a Design Labs controller that, like, the new one. I got mine recently. It's 360 version of it, and it has Afro Samurai on it.
Oh, that's dope.
That was mine. Yes, that was mine for many years.
Put up Slow-Mo's comment.
Actually, so was I, but that's a whole different source, different conversation. Well, because at that time I was working for EB Electronics Boutique, and they also offered us beta testing.
Hold on, it was Romeo RX2. So it's not just Romeo. There was some numbers.
That's a whole different.
That was supposed to be for.
There's a psychological conversation to have about people's hotmail names in those days, which tells you when Everborn Saga is not on a mission to sell his Everborn Saga, Romeo RX7,
RX2. It was for R squared. Like the company that Everborn Saga falls under is R Squared Entertainment.
Yes.
That's my LLC for that. And that's why you see R Squared Network at the beginning on the reel. Yes, but that R Squared is all RX2, and it's a whole thing that goes back to my youth.
He's wearing his cap and he's capping, and he's he's justifying his existence right now. Shall we let him continue or shall we move on?
No. You move on. Because the more I talk about it, I'm making it worse.
The deeper you dig yourself. That's why I'm like, maybe we should just let him keep talking. Anyway. So back to the topic at hand. It's one of those things that it's become basically part and parcel of the gaming experience today, where you just accept some of these inalienable truths, which is gaming online tends to be toxic unless you have a close-knit group that you work with, something like that, And I mean, all of us here, in one way or another, are huge gaming fans, both behind the retail side of it as well as the developer side of it. Some of us want, I've dabbled in game engines and this and that. My kid is really into gaming, and I would love for her to one day say, "Hey, I want to be a game developer." But these things that are being now released and these conversations that just don't seem to go away, it's like when they started having the conversation about NFL football and all the tackling, would you want your child to play football? It would be my kid loves gaming to like ridiculous levels, right? To the point where I've bought her an 8-bit little teeny tiny controller so she can get on the Switch. She can play it wherever she wants. She loves gaming. And I know where this is heading. But because of these things, I'm kind of like
a little nervous,
maybe, a little bit, because we need to do something about this. Us as a community need to do something about all of this madness that just keeps happening over and over and over again. And there's no accountability. Ubisoft, I am still on Ubisoft because today's not their day, but it's been their day many times. And supposedly Yves Guillemot, somebody comes out and does something completely outlandish, and what do? They protect the person who's doing outlandish stuff. Now,
Mrs. Boomstick says that all the time. It seems as if the victim is punished or repunished while they make it convenient for the offender. She says that all the time, especially because obviously she used to work for school safety many moons ago before where she's working now. And that's actually where we met. We met in Columbus High School. She worked there. I was a youth officer there. That's how we met, folks. Pretty much love at first sight for me, anyway. Not so much for her. I kind of had to court her a little bit. But without not going down that deep rabbit hole, we used to see a victim of a robbery get transferred right out of the school. And a lot of the times they're like, but I don't want to go. I like my teachers. I like my friends. I don't want to have to start over. And they wouldn't transfer the scumbag.
Yeah.
Until I started saying what she started saying. And why don't we move the piece of garbage?
And then they sent him to my high school, Evander Childs.
You went to Evander. Holy cow. What a small world. What a small world this is.
We used to go to war with the Christopher Columbus kids, man.
Josie worked, Mrs. Boomstick worked there for a week. She didn't go back. Let's just say that. Not a fan. And she's right over here to the right of me. But see, again, on to that point, Casante, is, again, this is something that is going to require the victims to have some power. Yeah. And I think that what we're going to see is a revolution in the gaming industry that has to happen. That should have been happening already. I think men and women both deserve to be on an even playing field. I'm not saying that for clicks. If there's any women here, listen, don't sub the channel. It's fine. I'm just speaking from the heart as a husband, as a godfather to many young women, to women that I respect in the industry, out of the industry. I think that we need to talk about this. And again, this is one of those, again, like I said in the beginning, it's one of those topics that you have to tread lightly because there is a cliff. And if you walk too close, you will go off of it. But I think that because we're all confident men and professionals, not only on this show, but what we're going to talk about on Monday's show, we can have these conversations. And I'm going to say this, we should have those conversations.
As allies, it is our responsibility because, as I said, I love walking into a room. Like, after the whole BLM thing happened, I'm on Spaces, I'm on Clubhouse, and I'll walk in there and I'll hear the leaders and the executives at like Iron Galaxy in a chat room going, "This is inappropriate. We need to represent these people in this world. It's so important." Yes. Oh man, this is today is the day of all days, man. We just keep getting them. This is awesome. Thank you so much. Out of nowhere, we have the Wandering Dutch man himself. Thank you so much for joining us. This is great. Anybody who sees the secret code and wants to join us, please do. You know where that is. Thank you so much.
Listen,
this is awesome.
Dutch is the real life Ragnar Lothbrok in my
indeed. Yes. And every time he shows up, it's cause for celebration. Indeed, I agree. You know.
How's it going?
Good. How you doing, man? I know that this topic is also very near and dear to you, so I appreciate you for joining us and letting your voice to this conversation as well. So thank you so much for joining us. You know, so yes, I saw OG in here, and I put it up real quick, and I'll put it.
And I think OG's onto something now. Whether that can happen, I don't know. Yeah. But that's a conversation also, where like for instance, again, I got to bring up Mrs. Boomstick because it's close and dear. Her job doesn't have a union, so there's a lot of stuff that goes on that is, it's questionable in the hands shenanigans. Of the power. That's right. And if gaming had a union, there would be some place that would be outside to protect its members. Indeed. And I don't know if it could happen. It's a big industry. But with that said, the movie industry has a union, several of them. So if they could do
Screen Actors Guild.
That's right. The SAG. If they could have it, why shouldn't something as big or even bigger than film in the gaming industry in 2021 have it?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Please, Dutch, speak on it. No, go ahead, Dutch. I know you had something to say. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, it certainly needs it. Like you said, the Screen Actors Guild. You've got workers' unions in every other kind of possible sector known to man, especially the industrial sector. That's massive. There's workers' unions there. Of course, that was brought on by the unfair treatment of industrial workers, kind of way back in the 1940s and 50s. That required it. It required it. There was people getting worked to the bone and kind of nothing coming of it, and they all kind of made a stand, and eventually there was the workers' union, the industrial workers' union, come off the back of that. Same goes for the video game industry now is the largest media market in the world.
Yes.
Bar none. There needs to be something that goes for actors, that goes for artists, that goes anybody and everybody in between needs a sector that stands up for them within that. It's a shame to see what's happening, but it seems to be very much commonplace in some of the larger studios, and I think it's a byproduct of these larger studios forgetting their roots, specifically just mass. And we've had an issue not so much with that, but one of the companies in my sector, which is the energy market. I deal with high scale energy. But one of the larger companies have recently been brought to task over homosexuality and things like that. One of their workers have just took them to court and won, and was called out for it, and they've lost loads of connections and things like that. But it is something that people can go to court for and fight back against over here. However, there's nothing over there, and again, it seems to be there's a lot of people either, whether it be for their gender or their sexual orientation or whatever it is, there seems to be a lot of that still going on within these larger game development studios that needs completely wrung out and cast aside. The horrific thing is unless there's something like this happens, it wouldn't have been brought to the spotlight in the first place.
Yeah, it's just business as usual for sure.
Yeah. Ubisoft, of course, had it, and then it kind of went all silent on that. Even nothing much come of it. But now we've seen, of course, Activision, and then the post. And I'm not sure, is this the guy that you're speaking on now that worked for Insomniac, or did you see the other one?
This is it right here. Yeah, I'm scrolling through it as we go along. Yeah.
So there we go, Insomniac. Yeah. But then there's a few more people.
I was telling that to the boys. You know, this specifically Insomniac, man, that threw me because they are considered like upper echelon prestige, not only in quality of product, but also
even say they're the standard case on.
They are the standard. That's right. They are, every time you see Ted Price speak, you're just like, I like this dude. You know, he's just. It would be like hearing that Phil Spencer has been sitting around letting people like just do this. I would be floored if I saw.
So I think what happens in a lot of these situations, though, this is not to make an excuse of. It's just more of an explanation. Like if we're all familiar with the movie Fight Club, and when he talked about the cost benefit analysis that they do. No. Well, we don't talk about that.
The ROI,
right? But the cost benefit analysis that they do, they say we can spend some money, maybe pay the victim a little bit, and deal with the lawsuits, or we look at the cost of fixing this problem, and if it's less to sweep it under the rug, we just don't do anything. And a lot of the times that's people's jobs to be a buffer or a filter to shield the CEO from these things. Right. But the problem is you wonder, like, if you're the CEO, even if it's somebody's job to shield you from that, so you don't know, you're still the captain of the ship. And should the captain of the ship go down with the ship, and do you say you didn't know about this, but you should have known about it? So you are either complicit or you were negligent. Which one is it?
And vast majority is negligent.
Unacceptable. That's right.
Majority is negligent. You've got a point there as well. I think primarily it's down, and you see a lot of these things when they're brought up as well. The half of them say, "Oh, we brought it up with HR," who then spoke to them and they just give them a slap on the wrist. It was like, it's always, in every case that I've seen, it's always they've went to HR. HR have done absolutely nothing about it and just swept it under the rug. And these people, they need to have a literal zero tolerance approach to it. And by zero tolerance, I mean, no matter how good that person is at their job, if they're complicit in doing any of the things above, they need to be bye.
Yes, I think
we need an MSRB. I think for this kind of stuff. We need a separate regulatory body. I'm sorry, real quick, Everborn. We need a regulatory body that is an independent regulatory body, just like the MSRB. Everybody's got a kowtow, bring their game to the line. They decide, will you like it or you don't? This is the rating. You don't like it, go fix something. We need something of that ilk for this kind of stuff, where they'll come in and they have the authority to just, rip through your folder, your org structure, and rip out those who are deemed to be toxic. We need some kind of third party that everyone in the industry can agree to that says, "Yep, they're here for that purpose."
I don't know that I agree with that part.
Please explain.
And so I will in a second. But the other thing I was trying to say is, I think part of the calculus that they make is not necessarily we want to keep this person, but if we go ahead and we fire this person, it's going to be a PR nightmare. And they think that now it will come to light and in the public. And again, this is not making an excuse for it. I'm telling you that these motherfuckers are all looking at their Excel spreadsheet and saying, what is going to be the cost of this?
That is exactly why I'm making my point.
I don't. When you have this other body that is outside of the law and outside of the company, I think that can get very, like, boom, you said we could go over the edge. And I don't want to go there. I think that companies should police this themselves and send people to the authorities of the actual laws that we have on the book. And one other thing,
historical evidence that they're incapable,
but they need to do it. They need to.
They are incapable of doing it.
And to just to OG's point, I don't think a union fixes this problem. The SAG existing didn't stop Harvey Weinstein.
Sure,
right?
Yeah,
true.
That's not really going to necessarily fix the problem. And one other thing I want to say, this will take me a minute to explain, but please bear with me. Just looking at this in multiple layers. Yes, this is a problem we need to fix, but it's not only women in game development that are dealing with this. Is women everywhere, and all. It could be a cleaning lady that deals with this. It could be the person that works at the supermarket, and the whole Me Too movement. The thing that kind of got it, the same way BLM got under my skin The Me Too movement got under my skin in a different way, where it was people paying lip service to it, but not actually doing anything. So you could say hashtag Me Too, or you could say hashtag BLM, but what does that really mean? And what we saw with the Me Too movement is something that was started by Tarana Burke, right? Even though the face of it was Rose McGowan and Lena Dunham, right? But it was started by Tarana Burke talking about those cleaning ladies and those service workers or undocumented workers that are subject to these kind of things every day, and there's no one that speaks for them.
Right.
And it was Me Too. But then to me, I see Rose McGowan putting up the Black Power fist, and I see Lena Dunham, all of this Me Too stuff. And when a Black woman accused her friend, a co-producer, nothing happened, right? And the Me Too thing became more of like a power grab for these women in Hollywood.
A trend for some people.
Right?
So that's
and what I don't want this to
became
be
a cudgel that they used to beat over the
right?
other people.
And even me, I'm not going to say the name of the company that I used to work for, but it's one of the largest companies in the world. And they asked me to be on the diversity board. And there was a mandate from the CEO of the company, who, if I said his name, you'll know it, to say, hey, our workforce is, the country's population is 13% Black African American, right? And our workforce is not that, and we want to build towards that. And we are in New York, where those numbers are even more skewed, like
that's right?
Yeah. 40, 60, or whatever it is. So we want to start hiring more people, at least so that we match the population of the people we are trying to serve. And being on those boards, when the Me Too movement came out, the focus shifted away from that initiative to say, we need to hire more women. But what happens is, and I would interview people, most of the women in STEM happen to be white women. And the initiative completely went away for that company to hire more people of color. It was just women. And I feel like that happened with the Me Too movement in Hollywood, where it was about women who don't have a voice, being taken advantage of. And then we saw the diversity movement shift towards that. So I just want to give voice to that, because I feel like we all have a good cause here, but I want us to just keep that level of balance.
They tried to divide and conquer.
Want someone to say that, so I'm saying
you're absolutely right. They divide and conquer. Oh, here's this problem. Maybe we can kill two birds with one stone, and then go about the business that we were here for, which is making money. And that's I completely agree with you, and that is why, as difficult and as fraught as this continues to be, I appreciate you, wonderful content creators, folks out there, leaders in the community. Speak on it. Let folks know. As difficult as this continues to be, because that cost benefit analysis is constantly ongoing. And no one person will be able to make that change. But if all of a sudden Activision looks out and all the PR is just gloom and doom on a daily basis because they allow this kind of behavior to happen, then the cost benefit analysis changes for them, because it will start affecting the bottom line. You know what I'm saying?
They're already in the bottom of the barrel of conversations regarding the gaming industry. Let's take the sexual misconduct situation and just kind of put that off to the side for a second, right? Activision, and that's run by Bobby Kotick, who we know, who has been accused,
horrible human being.
He's a terrible person. His salary is just unfathomable for a human being for what he does. Now, listen, we're not going to get into that, but my point is that they already have this horrible negative picture of gaming. They are considered, folks, if you're new to gaming, welcome. The worst of the worst of the worst. You don't want that, but they still continue to be who they are. And now you have, let's bring the sexual misconduct back onto the stage, because
put it back on the table.
That is the important aspect of this conversation. Change needs to happen, and we're now starting to see that change. Now, change, like anything, is not easy. It's difficult.
It takes time.
It's messy. It's dirty. It's you're getting your hands filthy because you have to go in there and that's something you have to wrestle with. You got to get into the mud and you got to really work with it, and then you got to bring it out and you got to clean it up. Some people don't want to do that. Your show, Everborn's show, Dutch's show, my show, we're going to get dirty. We're going to be talking about this. This is not for clicks. This is not for subs. This is for
gaming.
For
it's
gaming.
It's for the continuity of
but
gaming.
More so for the human being aspect.
That's right.
And every human being, whether you're born a male and you convert to a female, vice versa, gay, straight, black, white, Catholic, Jewish, it doesn't matter. Everyone matters.
Yeah,
everyone matters.
Respect,
and I think that if we as content creators, regardless of size, if we get out there and we start talking about this, others will follow. And that is how you make change in this world, by going out there and sometimes talking about the difficult situations that people are afraid to talk about. And again, I'm so confident of the men, all of us, and of course Mag, who's writing the original topic, who's listening right now, and the rest of our panel. I'm so confident as men that we can get out there Monday and talk about this for 60 plus minutes, and everyone give a great point that someone may take this away from and be like, you know what, on my show, regardless if I have 2 people listening or 3,000 people listening, it's worthy of a conversation. And that is how you stem change. And I'll leave it at that.
Oh, highly, completely. Couldn't have said it better myself. I completely 100% agree. I 100% agree. And to that aspect of the folks who, because of the fraught nature of all this, that have a problem having conversations about it, have a problem speaking on it, I completely agree. Again, speaking of the BLM days, I do remember folks, my DMs being open and folks having conversation with me saying, look, I want to have this conversation. I want to go out there and ask questions, but I'm concerned because the minute you say something that's untoward, you're labeled, and I don't want to be labeled. So I'm going to be quiet, and that ruins this conversation, right?
Yes.
We must allow folks to step up, make mistakes, as long as you come to it with a genuine curiosity and a genuineness to understand and possibly contribute. All should be allowed to contribute, and all should be allowed to ask questions and make mistakes, and it's fine, and that's what I see has been, halting folks from being a bit more out there and having that conversation with the community and saying what they think about all this. But by and large, we should all stand up. PlayStation, Xbox, PC, whatever the hell you happen to game on, this is unacceptable.
Yeah,
absolutely,
except for Nintendo.
Unacceptable.
No, Nintendo's okay. Listen, gentlemen,
absolutely unacceptable.
I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I want to give the floor to Dutch. Listen, I'm literally in the midst, as I was doing this, writing Monday's show. I'm multitasking.
Go for it. Yes. No worries, please.
So I'm
before you take a step, please let us know where we can find you. We're going to see you on Monday. Please.
Listen,
the floor is yours.
If you don't know who Mr. Boomstick is, then you're not really listening, folks, because I do 4 live shows a week. I'm probably one of the most active content creators. As a matter of fact, content creation has logistically stolen my gamer's life. I don't have a gamer's life. I play games as a pastime. I work in the gaming industry as a content creator, and I do it because of the love of gaming, because of the love of this community, because I love talking about games. I could do it. I could read it. I write it. I go to bed thinking about it. I wake up thinking about it. I drive poor Mrs. Boomstick insane, but she's the biggest supporter. And listen, at Mr. Boomstick XL, if you want to continue this conversation, DMs are open to everybody. And if they're not, leave me a message, and I respond to everyone, even the knuckleheads. And Double Barrel Gaming, folks, we're closing in on 9,000 subs. We're close.
Awesome.
And the goal for 2021, hit 10K. If you can help me do that, if you're not subscribed, subscribe. If you want to help me, help push the brand. Get out there and copy the link, throw it on Twitter. Say, hey, listen, if you want a content creator that does this for the love of gaming, which is what we all should be doing, and everyone here does it for, check out Double Barrel Gaming on YouTube. You won't be disappointed. And I'll leave it at that.
thank you so much for joining us. You bless us with your presence anytime you choose to do so. Oh, for real, because you and I'm sure most in the chat and some on the panel will agree. You are an inspiration to all of us.
You know what? Real quick.
Yes.
First of all, I appreciate the high praise. I don't deserve it, but I appreciate the high praise.
You definitely do. Speak.
Tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, your boy is going to be hanging out with John and Special Nick from the Xbox Era podcast.
Cool.
And folks, this is, listen, if you don't know who Special Nick is, this is an insider. He has a lot of connections to the industry. Their podcast, I listen to it weekly, right along with yours. And of course, Living Split Screen. So many podcasts I listen to while I'm cleaning. Usually it's when I'm cleaning because it takes away the cleaning aspect of it. And I bang it out that way. But yeah, tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be a guest. And we have a lot to talk about. I don't know what they haven't given me the show notes yet.
Boom.
Yes,
I'm going to tell you right now. On behalf of the Primetime Gaming crew, we are sending you in as a sleeper agent. I want you to find out from Special Nick who Microsoft is going to buy next.
I will ask.
And then you come back and you report to us.
That's right.
Don't share it with anybody, but we're sending you in and we're counting on you, Boom.
Yeah, don't worry. I have a list of questions right here, ready to go for Special Nick. All right, I'm ready.
That's right.
Ready for him. But listen, Dutch, Everborn, Keasante, gentlemen, I love you guys like brothers. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Boomstick Love Gun Excel, baby.
Take care, everybody.
I think I regret sharing certain information. It's going to come back to haunt me. I see it now. I see it now.
All right.
Thank you so much. So yes, Mr. Boomstick Excel, ladies and gentlemen, you know him, you love him. We appreciate him joining us on this conversation. Dutch, please continue where we left off. This is a conversation that seems to be evergreen, that seems to continue. Getting back on topic. What brought this up in its latest incarnation is that finally, after a bunch of individuals have reported separately, now the state of California, as you see on the screen there, is suing Activision Blizzard over basically every kind of harassment you can think of. They have documented, and one person tries and they hit a wall of money. Another person tries and they hit another wall. So now it's the government that has to go and say, "Look, Bobby, it's time to take you to task." Please, what do you think?
It needs to be taken to task, to be honest. And again, as I mentioned before, a no tolerancy approach in these companies needs to actually be implemented. And by that, within my sector specifically, a no tolerancy approach means that you put on gardening leave, investigations done thoroughly. If found to be guilty, you are let go. You don't come back to the company. And you're out when obviously gardening leave means you are out of that company and out of that environment until your hearing. And during your hearing, when you do come to the company, you are in there by yourself in that hearing, and then you're out. You don't interact with anybody else in between. And on gardening leave, you're not legally authorized to interact with anybody you work with during that period either, to try and get some kind of story straight or anything. That's really what needs to happen in every instance, not just in sexual harassment, not just in workplace bullying,
not just in gaming. It's just in general. You're right.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question on that point, and this is just for the sake of the conversation, because I mostly agree with you in spirit. Does that lead to a place where you are you're guilty until proven innocent, right? And I'm not saying that anybody lies about these things, right? But do we want to be in a place where an accusation kind of sullies your name like that? Because everybody's going to think that you did it and those things. Is that the world that we want to be in, or is there a better way to handle these things?
I think in terms of accusations, you need to have some form of proof before you accuse, because again, you've got the opposite. You've got a lot of people that still, and unfortunately, this isn't just men, this is women, accuse people of things that they've never done. That includes sexual harassment, that includes rape, and those things can end careers and end lives. That can also have the opposite effect. If you're accusing somebody of something so horrific as rape or some kind of sexual harassment or sexual bullying or anything like that, if it is complete fairy tale and make believe and doesn't have actual proof to go behind it, can end someone's career, and then again, like this poor lady has in this instance, taken her own life because of sexual harassment.
Because of that,
it can lend the same thing on the opposite side of the scale. False accusation or anything like that without evidence can also end with suicide, and we've seen it unfortunately countless times with males, and again females, because obviously it's not just to one sex.
It's not just limited. Yeah.
I think in terms of the gardening leave things, these on initial, if somebody's throwing accusations around where there is no physical proof to suggest that, then it needs to be a one-on-one conversation with line management, and they need to have a stern word with these people. If there is physical proof that goes behind an accusation, then that should result in gardening leave upon further investigation.
No, I agree.
You have to with all of these, especially these strong allegations with this poor woman where things went round the office. That's physical proof. Like that is grounds for immediate dismissal. If that has happened, it's grounds for it, and they can easily find the root source of wherever that was sent to, because she could say, "Well, I only sent it to this person, so there was absolutely no way nobody else would have it." And unfortunately, that's again, like I say, it's
and that in that instance, like I agree, because it's something like, well, you shared this sort of revenge porn or whatever it was.
Yeah,
there's no explaining that. There's no, well, this was the consequence. So in those cases, yes. So that's like you said, evidence and things like that. But I don't think that we should get to a place where, barring having something like that where it's open and shut, that we should publicize this thing, because that again,
it ends careers needlessly.
Not every case needs to be in the public eye. It needs to be behind. Of course, it's a very difficult subject, and especially it doesn't. Not every case needs to be broadcasted, because it doesn't represent the entire company. And when you've got issues like this going on, it then becomes, right, well, this entire company is to blame, and every person that works there is to blame.
Yeah, you'll have throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Exactly. You'll have artists and developers and everything within these. You better believe how big Activision is. Not every single male in there is complicit in this.
That's right.
The problem they've got is that these people feel that if they speak up, they will lose their jobs. And that goes for the males as well as the females. That's the problem.
Two things related to what you guys were just discussing here. Activision, they are such an offender that even though you are 100% right, in this instance, there's a really big risk of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Like a couple weeks ago, I had a buddy of mine who's also a pretty seasoned developer on. When this whole thing happened, I sent him a quick note. I hope to have him back on the show soon enough, and maybe we'll continue the conversation and hear his thoughts as well. He's worked for Activision. He got hired to be the executive producer for King on Candy Crush the week that Activision bought Candy Crush. So he's worked with them, and some of the stuff, as soon as I sent this to him, some of the stuff he came back to me with, oh man, like stuff that he has seen, stuff that he has that has been around him at Activision and plenty other places, This is a serious, and it's just part and parcel of the experience now. So that's part one. Part two, I want to revisit the thing that I was talking to you, Everborn, about. And obviously, there's always nuances there, and there's logistics to be worked. But I really want to have a conversation about the potential of, just like the MSRP, right? There's many instances where in the MSRP, they reject games multiple times. Until the game is ready to go, you won't hear or see about it, because they are the regulatory body that have been empowered by the game industry to do this work, by both sides, by all sides, right? And obviously, you have to do some very deep digging for who will be part of this commission, if you will, have representation on all sides, because you are very right in your assertion that, hey, this could become a cudgel that they use to weaponize and use it to make to bring people to heel, because hey, all we got to do is say something and you're done. We don't want that, 100%. But I really think that where we are today with Ubisoft over and over and over and over and over again, with Activision to the point where it takes the state government to sue them before, because no one person has the power to ever get through that field. We need some regulatory body that has been governed, that has been okayed by all of them, you know, by the PlayStation, by the Xbox folks, by all the various PC platforms, you know, maybe a body that is agreed to by Valve, by Microsoft, by PlayStation. Hey, these guys have to go through your system, or you guys are not allowed on our storefront, or you're not allowed in our ecosystem. We all agree to these terms, and when something happens, they will come through your company. They don't even have the right to do anything. They'll come to your company and they'll create a report and release the report to the public. You know, this is their function to make sure, because dude, read the history. You know, it's after a while, you cannot rely on the power structure to change themselves, because it's in their best interest to continue doing that cost benefit analysis. And if every time it works out that this person will take 10 grand, that person will be shut up, the PR will be quiet if we do it real this way, they cannot be allowed to continue making it work in their own favor. It's just not right. How many years has Ubisoft been in the middle of this? Years. And still, Yves Guillemot's there. And still, last week wasn't it Schreier that came out with a thing that literally proves that Yves Guillemot not only knew some of the stuff, he's literally actively protecting people. How do you solve that? You need someone beyond his regulatory capability to come in there and shake him loose. If you don't have something in place to do that, he's going to be there indefinitely because no one can stop him. You know, he's still making money for the company. The board has no issues. Their priority is what all priorities are for business: money. That's their priority. And that's not a problem because that's what they're there for. But when these things are allowed to fester, it becomes a problem. And you cannot expect that those people whose priorities it is for money to be the ones to be all of a sudden the moral high ground to go, yeah, this will cost us some, but we should do the right thing. It's not in their nature for that. You know, maybe a regulatory body is extreme, but something needs to be done to remove people from power when they continue to allow this bad behavior. And we have multiple evidences.
I guess my pushback is that, like, I feel like we do this as a lot and just say, I want the government to handle something. And I'm just trying to figure out if there's another way.
Didn't say the government. I said regulatory bodies. The MSRB is a regulatory body that's not a government, but all of the platforms within the gaming space have come to the agreement that, yeah, these guys govern this purpose. They are here to make sure the parents know what's in the game, whether we like it or not. And in many cases, there are fights with the MSRB, but at the end of the day, they win.
Right, but what would be the specific function of this third party?
Kind of like you watch enough cop shows, kind of like Internal Affairs, where real credible threats are brought in, and it's not just, oh well, you know, it was the company who investigated themselves, so it can't be true, or oh, it was a bunch of dudes, so they can't know what they're talking about. Just a regulatory body that's put together by intelligent folks from all around the industry, right? You have your Sarah Bonds in there. You have somebody from PlayStation in there. You have people from Valve in there. You make sure that when this regulatory body speaks, no one can say anything because they are of us. So there's no, hey, they're trying to do this or they're trying. It's not easy. There are nuances there. You know, it's not a slogan thing, right? If we live in the world of slogans, they say one thing and they move on and it never gets done. But the logistics of getting this done, it's possible and it can be done. It really can, you know, or something else can be done. But the idea that we're continuing to just let them police themselves, I'm not saying has proven to be mistaken. You know,
I'm not saying like let that. I'm just saying, is there something else? Because when we have these bodies that sort of become this all-powerful thing, and you get caught up in that level of bureaucracy with these things, a lot of times, like, even they can be corrupted, and then we're saying that they're the end-all be-all. So look at Moody's and all the credit rating agencies that was in pocket of these guys and ended up leading us into the 2008 crisis. Well, like okay, that, like these bodies that decide these things for it.
I hear you, but but whenever we speak these things, his Americanness shows. And you're right, because in America, yes, it's true. But there are other places besides America that are not that are able to sit down, work the system, We're not going to push too much in this in the political scheme, but Dutch, you live where exactly about
in the UK?
You live in the UK. I lived in the Netherlands for many years.
Yeah.
So
hey,
I understand.
Back in 2 seconds. Got to check on the contract.
Yeah. Please go for it. Go ahead. Yeah. I've lived in the Netherlands for many years. I moved to the States in 2001, but most of my family still lives out there. I speak Dutch, so I still have a connection to that world, right? And in that world, like just a quick side note, America made this big thing about healthcare and all of this. In that world, an EpiPen is very reasonably priced because they put it together, a regulatory body of doctors, of scientists, people whose vested interest to make this thing be good for the people. So whenever any new company comes into the mix and says, hey, we have this new device, we're going to sell it for 150,000% of its value, they go, get the hell out of here with all that. We are the regulatory body. We tell you this is where you can go. Yes, you can make some profit, maybe 10, 20% above its value, but that's it. That's what's necessary here. And every time we bring that up and Americans are among the place, they'll say, that's corrupt. Yeah, because that's all y'all know. But there's more out there. Please look out there. Don't let people fool you into saying that all government regulation is bad, because Americans have been literally indoctrinated into thinking that that's the only thing that exists. There are more things that exist out there, and they work. They work. Yes, I hear you with this whole, we don't want more bureaucracy. There are lots of bureaucracies around the world. It's not just American bureaucracies. And many of those bureaucracies are beyond reproach. They put right people in the mix, and it's not like a government entity that's there to make money or keep money. They're there to serve the problem at hand, and then they leave. I've seen that happen. Maybe you bring women from the leadership community in the gaming. You bring I'm blanking on her name. She recently started Haven Studios. She was one of the original teams.
Yes,
I
know who you're talking about. Yeah,
exactly. You bring people of that nature. You bring Sarah Bond. You bring a lot of the women that we respect in this environment. You bring the men that we respect in this environment. You bring them all, you put them all in a room, and you say, this is the problem at hand, whoever they may be, right? This is the problem at hand. Your responsibility is to come out of this room with a verdict in this case, right? Write your report, and with that, they will make decisions as they need to make. Someone beyond one main company needs to be able to hold people's feet to the fire. Continuing to let them hold their own feet to the fire clearly has not worked. That's my only thing. And if we keep talking about it, that's great. But these things need to Jade Raymond, thank you so much. OG, yes, 100%. People of that ilk, when they speak, there's respect there. You hear them. And they're not there necessarily just to weaponize their ability to screw somebody else. No, it's all about the gaming community, right? What do you think about that, Dutch? I know that, as soon as anybody says regulatory, red flags, but something needs to get done here.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people think that because it's regulatory as well, everything goes public with that, and it doesn't. Unless the regulatory body finds something horrific, then it will go public.
Yeah, and imagine that in that regulatory body, they find something, they let Activision know, hey, this is what we have found. A week later, no action has been taken. This is and then the report gets released after certain criteria are met, and the company has not taken action.
Exactly, the regulatory body gives heads up, and they basically give them a chance to fix the issue.
That's
right. We need to see benefits. We need to see improvements, because if we don't see improvements, then further action will be taken.
That's right. And of course, as soon as they let it out there, the PR is going to be a nightmare for you, and there goes your business and all that. So everyone knows because I don't begrudge a company to prioritize money. That's what they're there for, right?
Yep.
But you can't then expect them to have a moral compass and go, yeah, we're treating people badly. Look, I'll even give the Bobby Kodaks of the world the benefit of the doubt and say it is in their world, their job is to just continue making money, right? It's not their job to police moral high grounds here and there, right? So make it somebody else's job to do that. Make it somebody else's job. Because you cannot expect these non-feeling, non-seeing entities just all about the money to then turn around and go, that's just like expecting cops to then become psychiatrists. Hell no. If you need a cop, call a cop. If you need a psychiatrist, call a psychiatrist. Don't call a cop expecting him to be a psychiatrist, right? So in other words, don't go to the CEO of a company who their job is, their whole purpose of being, and they're successful at it because they're a multi-billion-dollar company, to make money, and then go, yeah, we need you to be the moral authority of how children, how women and black people and minorities are treated in your company. No, that's not their job. It's not. And even if they say they'll do it, they will never place as much priority on that as they do what their primary function is, making money. So that's why there's a need for an outside entity that everyone agrees to.
Let me
come in and say, look, this is what you need to do. And whether you like it or not, you all have agreed to it. You don't like it. These are the ramifications that you've also agreed to will happen if you don't. Just like, real quick, I'll let you go, Everborn. Just like they do right now in the coding space, right? They have security researchers all over the place. You find a vulnerability, you tell Microsoft. You give them a week, you give them a month. They fix it. Sometimes they'll pay you a bounty, and then eventually it comes out. If you tell them and they do nothing, you release it and then let the world know I told them, they did nothing, and it turns into a black eye on their faces, and it's happened multiple times. I've
also seen Google and Microsoft weaponize that against each other.
Of course, I get all that.
We're releasing these vulnerabilities.
I get all that, but these people who are victims are more important than the back and forth of bureaucracy between those two companies.
So one thing is and with this whole suit with California against Activision, right? What about actually going after the individuals that did these things?
I think that's obviously going to be happening, but I think it's also what you're saying. I think that's quite obviously happening in the background. The problem they've got, and I think the problem the state of California have got, is the fact that this seems to be an entire workplace culture as opposed to just one or two people, which is why they wanted investigated. If it was a case of 1, 2, 3 people that were complicit in all of these issues, that would have just been dealt with a bit differently. But because it's found so far to be so many people that are complicit in this issue, it's a culture issue. And again, the problem with Activision have as well is the fact that they also have not just one site, but multiple sites worldwide
where this keeps happening.
If one has a major issue, that one section there is tagged along with the major father company, should we say, the big brother. And it needs to be ironed out. And even if it isn't happening at this big one, they still have a duty of care to make sure that their sister company does not have that complicit.
You're absolutely right. And specifically with California, to your question, everyone, specifically the California case, it's because somebody put in a complaint. It goes through, they think it's resolved, maybe they get fired. That's one case. Somebody else puts in a complaint. It goes through, maybe they're paid off, it gets put in. And it's the idea of sustained over historical evidence of many, many years of, okay, they went to this executive, he squashed it. To the point where they went to the CEO himself and he squashed it. When that happens, there's just no other recourse. And it requires a higher body.
I completely get all of that. I think this is just more my mistrust of government as a whole.
100%. Like I said to Wandering Dutch, whenever anybody speaks regulatory bodies and an American is in the room, they have a righteous duty to speak about regulatory bodies. And I'm not. That's what you guys have been conditioned to, rightfully so.
I'm not discounting any of what happened, and I'm not saying nothing should be done about it. I just get scared of giving some government bodies more power. Because
unfortunately,
that's my default reaction to that.
I get it.
So I'm just saying, can we find another way to hold them accountable?
I'm in no way, shape, or form dissuading what you feel about it. Please, Dutch,
continue. In the EU and in the UK, regulatory bodies are separate from government entities.
That's right.
They are completely aside from them. So, for instance, in energy, you've got Ofgem, which is essentially the energy regulators for the UK. They are completely separate from the UK. They work with the government to help them regulate their stuff, but they also work with the consumer to help them regulate their stuff. So, for every issue, they've got that problem. They also have Ofwat, which is regulating the water within the UK, and then you have Ofcom, which is the Office of Communications, which regulates all media, as well as kind of not just for, again, these larger companies. If anything, for instance, if anything goes on the TV and it's really bad, Ofcom immediately drags that down and they just say, you can't be doing that, cannot be doing that. This is the big companies. And again, likewise, if the consumer has an issue, then they take it up and so on and so forth. They also get involved with the rights of these workers.
The idea here is there's a formula in creating a righteous regulatory body. America has never been able to make that formula work. Other countries have.
Okay,
and
but
because of that, that's exactly the reason why you are righteous in your ability to say what you're saying. I am in no way, shape, or form dashing your thoughts on it. 100% not. But I'm trying to tell you, this is a global problem with companies that are and the EU can force this. America likes it or not, the EU can force this. Just like the Dutch banned loot boxes. All it takes is some of these other regulatory bodies going, you know what? We waited for y'all to do it yourselves. You're not doing it yourself. If you want to sell to us, we need one in place. Do it now. And if America and if the gaming community as a whole, with leaders like Microsoft and Sony and all these people, if they just pay lip service and move on like they keep doing, I am hoping that another regulatory body with more clout can jump in and force the issue, because something needs to be done. And I get that when you speak to Americans, that's the first place they go because they have such history of corruption, and rightly so. So maybe put it in the hands of others who've done it better than you. But it needs to be done. It needs to be done, and it can't be put in the hands of.
You have to point me to an example of where this is like working
I can point
in America.
In America. When it comes to this, screw America.
But this Activision is an American company, and so what I'm saying is,
but they have reached beyond America, and that's why when it comes, most of these things are not just American company problems.
Then do it in the EU. Yep. It might be necessary. I think that in the EU and the UK now, since apparently that's separate.
Yeah, that's separate, unfortunately.
I think that they, by and large, tend to put they take a people first approach. Yes. And I think America takes the company first approach.
Exactly.
And I feel like whenever these things happen, you can't on the one hand say like government is corrupt, police are corrupt, these regulatory bodies have been corrupt. Now let's make another one so that they can go and be more corrupt.
No. See, you're being unfortunate. Unfortunately, you're dealing with the slogans. It's more than that. When you say these governments are corrupt, it's not to say get rid of them. Just like when you say defund the police. No, I'm not talking about you specifically. I'm talking in general. When folks speak about, oh, it's a corrupt, the notion is to then get rid of them because they're not working, right? What should be happening is, which is whenever, and we're like on the line of political convo, like on that tip. Anyway, we're not crossing it, but we're on that line. Every time this stuff happens, the question becomes, oh, get rid of it. But since, for better or worse, I've had a more worldly experience, my question is, there's nothing new under the sun. Whenever you need something done, what do? You look it up. Why? Because if you've had this problem, so has someone else.
How does that work
most
for Bernie
likely
Sanders?
Have resolved. I'm sorry?
How did that work for Bernie Sanders?
Oh, well, because, Americans are full of slogan-sucking idiots
exactly
who don't even know nuance.
Like,
but no. It's not about, look, it's not about just because, oh, we're not able to get to the finish line because of the song and dance, that now it's not worth it. That's BS. Change the process. The ultimate goal is still a laudable goal. Just because y'all can't get from laudable idea to laudable implementation doesn't mean it's not worth attempting.
I think the CEO should be shamed into stepping down. I think everybody should go to jail that did anything to these women.
But
and
how
I think
will the
all
CEO
of those
get
women
shamed into stepping down if there's no regulatory body to force them?
The fucking pants off of the company. That's what I think should happen.
How can they sue the pants off of Bobby Kotick when that dude makes more money than rain flows in Florida sometimes? It is impossible to use the tools at hand against him because he's master of those tools. That's the problem here. If you are the master of those tools, then you get screwed because you're just one man with a couple bucks in your pocket against the mountain that has all the resources in the world to get away with murder, literally. You know what I'm saying? Hence the regulatory body. We're going back to it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I agree with you that in the state, in the country that we live, there's a lot more nuances that need to take place and a lot more logistics that need to take place before something like this can be implemented. But the MSRB exists, and it's not been a problem. It exists. Every once in a while, you'll check with the MSRB. Somebody will do a documentary and they'll go, remember this game? Well, what you didn't know is when they first released it, it showed this, it showed that. And the MSRB went, ch-ch-ch, and all you saw was what they let you see, because that's what they're there to do. It's not like it becomes a thing every time they have a problem. They work the logistics. And at the end of the day, they do what they do. They're not there to be weaponized one way or another. Activision isn't throwing them a couple bucks to look the other way. You know, it exists. That's an example of it. Even in gaming. Why can't we do the same? And what I mean by do the same is, hey, a body that all of the big guys agree to, they say, your job is to come here and research as an outsider and put many different faces and many different voices in the mix so you can be confident that the view doesn't get skewed in one direction or another. And all they do there is, here's the report. You have X amount of time to take action. You don't, and you breach that metric that you've already agreed to, then it gets publicized and you get shamed in the streets. You know, that's what we need here. You know, I'm hoping that the more we talk about it, and it doesn't have to look exactly like that. It just needs to be outside the control of these huge entities that have that ability to control, right? Because why would it ever be in their best interest to lay down their considerable resources that defends them, that protects them against this crap? They don't have any business. They don't have any incentive to do that, right? So I honestly think that this will continue to happen until somebody somewhere, until these companies go, look, you know, we are not responsible for being moral high grounds because we're busy making money. So we created this entity here. They're responsible for that high ground, and we've all agreed to accept it. You know, and with that, maybe you'll see, you know, Yves Guillemot take a leave of absence. You know, maybe you'll see him go.
I think all of those motherfuckers need to go down with the shit.
Of course.
I think they should have to step down.
And I think we all agree to that. I think we all agree to that.
And I think they should go after everybody who did that, because it comes back to my main point. Yeah. You want to say that this is all should be swept under the rug? Would you say that if it was your daughter? So well, no, but I guess I understand that. It's just
the grander point is, because it happens systematically over and over and over again, it is becoming a culture where the higher ups and those in the positions of power who are supposed to protect the people are protecting the predators. That's why someone outside the game needs to step in. If those people at that high level were protecting their people, then there'd be no need for any further action, right? Hey, this happened. The dude was fired immediately. He was tarred and feathered in the streets. He'll never work in this town again. You know, these people feel comfortable going back to work. Then you wouldn't see these threads. Like, if you read this thread, at the end of it, I was throwing things. It's just horrendous, man. You know, and this has gone higher echelons of Insomniac. Ted Price and them know about this, but still, it still exists. So at this point, you can't trust the Ted Prices of the world to regulate it, because they've heard about it and it's still quiet. It needed this thread to blow it up, right? So we can't trust Ted Price. We need someone outside that has power to shame them, all of them, because they themselves are not good enough to be trusted to do it for themselves, unfortunately. So that's where we are with it. I suspect. Please, Everborn.
Are they being shamed now by the people?
Not enough, in my opinion. That's why I'm on here on my soapbox, waving my fingers in the air.
Because I'm going to guess that a person, and remember that this body that we're talking about is not in place.
Not in place. Yeah.
This person's soul speaking up, and this was not new. Like, this happened a year ago. Yep. Right.
This might be new to this is new to Insomniac, because it's through us for Insomniac, right? Specifically,
but the investigative journalism and all of these things that are coming out about Activision, I guarantee you that CEO is going to be let to step down, and I guarantee you there are going to be lawsuits, and I guarantee you people are going to go to jail, and I guarantee you it is going to hurt the company,
because there's a lot more historical evidence on Yves Guillemot, and he's still there. He's still there. I mean, there's years worth of historical
guess what?
Evidence and reporting, and
all this good and stuff about you said about the EU, Ubisoft is in the EU. Yes.
Oh yeah.
No.
Exactly. No. Exactly.
That's not that didn't protect them. So what I'm saying is, what I will always gear towards, as opposed to government oversight or whatever.
It doesn't have to be government.
I understand.
Dutch already said that. It's not.
I know. But what I'm saying is, I will always lean on the side of the people solving these problems. And
how will the people solve it? How can the people solve it?
The people speaking is what led to California suing Activision, and it is going to lead to that. I bet you that CEO is going to step down, and I bet you they're going to lose.
You know what led them to suing California? Because so many of those developers filed a report against within the Better Business Bureau. It took those devs, like the ones who were victimized, going and saying, "Hey, this has happened to me," and then another one, and then every time it did that, the question they're asked is, "Well, what processes were in place to help you?" And more people kept saying, "There are none really. They keep screwing us," and that's what got California to go, "Okay, enough is enough." But that, in order to get California or a business or an entity of that ilk to take the case, that means you have so much evidence already. So much has happened already. So many people have been victimized already that it took a huge, the third or fourth highest economy in the world, California is. It took them so long, because that's a huge ship. California is a state. It's the size of many countries. It took them so much time to get to that level for them to see it and go, yeah, enough is enough. If you have not a government run, but a regulatory body that has been agreed to by all the gaming press, all the gaming entities, something like this, one case, two case would be in in front of their desk day one, because that's all they do, right? And it doesn't have to be especially hired individuals. It can be people that do this pro bono, and I bet you they would do it. Like people within the gaming industry, higher ups, lower ups within the gaming industry, you know, your Jade Raymonds, I've mentioned this already, your Jade Raymonds, your Sarah Bond, those leaders in the industry, men, women, black, white, all of that then whenever a case like this comes up, they are brought together, because even though they work for different companies, there are many different, like women in code that they come together on. You know, there's so many regulatory cool little things that they do to come together as a gaming community to speak with one voice. This should be one of them. Let them all come together. Let them be that regulatory body that says, this is the report that has come out. We've done our research. We've done our investigation. And this is what we found, Activision. You have X amount of weeks, months, years to make a change. If you don't, you will be shamed in the streets. That's what's necessary here. And when that is big news, and Microsoft stands behind it, and Sony stands behind it, and Valve stands behind it, and all of the big guys stand behind it, because you'll be afraid not to, because you'll be the outlier if you don't, then this will start forcing people to change, forcing them. Because if you don't do that, I really don't see anybody coming in here going, yeah, I think it's my time protecting these predators who keep making me money. Yeah, now it's time to stop protecting the predators because I don't like the money anymore. Come on now. That's all they do. They're here for the money, and the money's still flowing because people still play WoW like it's their job, right? So how the hell will you ever stop that producer that's keeping WoW looking great? All he's happening to do is just touch some asses here and there, but he's keeping your money great. Come on now.
Yeah,
there's just no way.
I get it. I'm just trying to. I'm not saying like, oh, full self-police, let them figure it out. I'm just more on the side of people coming together to make the change happen than relying on these corruptible boards. That's all I'm really trying to say.
Yep.
I think these things, social media is terrible, but it does give people voice. And the reason we're even talking about this, and the reason these things, this woman was able to come forward and other people were able to come forward to get the people together, because the people are the ones with the power. And these regulatory bodies and these governments have they are under this impression that they rule us, but they don't. They work for us. That. And so I want more people to get together and do things.
Let's speak a bit more to the people, because I presented you my idea of what I think could potentially be solve here. And I hear you. You are 100% right in your weariness of all of this. 100%. So let's speak a little bit, because we don't have too much more time on this, but let's speak a little bit to your heading in that direction. How do you, in your estimation, empower people to resolve this without it happening multiple, because that's what took California. It happened way too long, to the point where those regulatory bodies you're talking about, those governments you're talking about, as corrupt as they are, as much as they close their eyes, California just couldn't close their eyes anymore. And that's a really big bureaucracy. So if they saw this and took this on, it means there's so much evidence. How do we stop that from getting to that level before somebody takes action? In your estimation?
How do we stop it like the first time?
How does a person get justice for this kind of stuff without it becoming a festering boil of years and years and years of pain and people getting fired, and which is what's happening?
I think that is a bigger problem than an individual company. I think that is a structure, not just this industry though. It's a structural problem that we talked about, because you know, there are, listen, we know what the country was built from. We know what all these countries are built from, and we know where we're coming from. We know that all these things were built on this idea of the good old boys club, and they decide who and who they let into that room.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And it's not just women, it's you know, people of color, black people, black men, right? Yep. All those things. So I empathize with all of that, but and again, because they are so large, they didn't get as large as they were. They didn't get too big to fail. They weren't allowed to you know, acquire all of these things and become so large that they are the only people that you can go to without the help of remember, the government to allow them to do that. So that
while they were getting so large and doing all this shady stuff was happening in the background. But at that time, it was pay him off, quiet, pay that off, quiet. Everborn never hears about this. For years now, while they're on their meteoric rise, and you hear WoW, and you hear, you know, all their games are out there. And for a while now, Blizzard was the gold standard in gaming. Like every game they release, they have people they tattoo them on their bodies. It's that crazy, right? They are so. And so all the while they're building up this brand, and we are of the people, and BlizzCon and all this stuff, there was all this festering hate and people hating their lives, and some people taking their own lives going on in the background. You see what I'm saying?
Well, to answer Pixel, I don't know if he was typing it while I said it. That's why I had to specify black people, black men. But yes, all across the board. Yes. And so I do think we have more power than we understand. I do think that we can, and this contradicts what I was saying earlier about, speaking, sort of boycotting companies, right? I think I'm always going to fall on the side of let the market deal with this, right? If we speak up and we say that this is not just bad apples, this is a whole culture, then maybe we shouldn't support that company until we see them making a change.
But you and I both know that gamers are fickle creatures. There's just no way that that's going to happen.
But why?
I'll tell you why. Because while you're one person with your wallet deciding, hey, this Ratchet and Clank game looks amazing, they have this multi-billion-dollar marketing arm who's using psychological methods, using whatever tools in their toolbox to turn people into sheep. And it works. It's not even detrimental. It's not like, oh, people are weak. They are literally studying your code to use it against you. So you cannot expect you, single Tom, Dick, and Harry, to have such ability to counteract that narrative. It's not easy, right? Because human beings are just human beings. We are transistors. We are ones and zeros, and they I know this because it's been documented at Facebook. It's been all everywhere. They bring psychologists in to say, okay, what do we do to get them to do this? Because 1 + 1 = 0, equals 2. They have your code basically written to say, all right, this is how we trigger them. This is how we weaponize them. This is how we move them to the beat of our drum. You can't then have that resources and then you single Tom, Dick, and Harry go, yeah, I don't like them, so I'm going to use my power to try to counteract.
No, I'm not saying as an individual. This is the problem. We keep thinking as individuals, not understanding the power we have.
And
if
how,
we
how
organize
much,
and we have people.
So how much power? How close have you gotten?
How do you on the one hand?
Mm-hmm.
How do you on the one hand say? I say. You tell me, look at the reality, right? I'm saying, look at the reality of these government bodies can't be trusted, right? And because that's just reality, right? So we shouldn't do anything. And now you're saying people.
That's the American reality.
But you're now saying that people can't be trusted to get together and make things happen. People have done that all the time. But can you bring up Paulie Baba's comment and then Pixel G's comment after that? Yeah. So employees could self-assemble to seek outcomes they want and not have it be top down from the industry itself. Then employees would have more power to leverage to make the environments less toxic. And now Pixel responded to that, which I think is also important. Employees have less power because unions are dead. Back when the unions existed, movements on these things would lead to boycotts. That does not happen. No unity.
I mean, let me give you a quick little anecdote. How much effort have we tried, you and me, to ban the PlayStation, Xbox, everybody together to say, hey, these SSDs not being released on PlayStation, this is bad right now. Even that rudimentary little inconvenience, they're ready to stand on their square and fight you because, oh no, my box is better than your box. There is no, that's a trivial stupidity. This is really important.
The difference between you and I right now is you trust a regulatory body or a private oversight board. I've seen it work. And I trust the people, right? And that's really the difference. Because you saying you have no faith. This right here is what's wrong with America. Whenever you have a different opinion, they throw a slogan at you that makes it seem completely polar. That's not the case. I don't distrust the people. I'm only going by what you said. No. I am not distrusting the people. What I'm saying is, and when you say you distrust the people, it means it's the idea of they're not good enough or they're not smart enough to do what needs to be done. That's not the point. What I'm saying is, just like it's written in the Constitution of America where you have the right to bear arms to form a militia against your government. Yeah, that was before drones. That was before they can pinpoint you from miles away and you're gone. That is no longer a valid option. I'm not saying I distrust the people. I'm saying the people are ill-equipped to battle these monsters. It doesn't matter how many people there are. And by the time the people get together, how many casualties will have already suffered from all of this? This is my point. I am not distrusting the people. I am saying that the people are ill-equipped, and the Bezoses of the world and all of them know this. And the deck is stacked. I understand that,
but I think I'm not saying I distrust the people.
I'm saying that the Jeff Bezos can influence whatever body you're talking about in America. That's usually how these things work. In the same way that I work as a software engineer in the banking industry.
You work in the financial industry, so you see it happening. I know
right?
This, yes.
The same way that they can manipulate the separate private, they're not government bodies, but they can manipulate the credit rating agencies.
Of course, yes.
Right? Why do you think that the gaming industries, the Activisions and the Take-Twos and the Microsofts of the world couldn't manipulate these bodies that we want to create?
Because the MSRB is a good example. That has never happened, ever. Even when the game is literally headed towards a cliff because the MSRB has an issue and this is rated MA, you don't like it, take this out. They have no choice. They have created it. The template is there. Because look,
MSRB,
gaming,
I don't think is a good example.
It is. You know why? Look at what happened to and this is I'm dating myself in the history. And please, Dutch, please don't just sit there. Join the conversation. Jump in. Look,
Dutch is out there having popcorn watching us argue.
This is what we do. Yeah. So remember Giant Bomb, right? Remember Jeff Gertzman, right? He had one bad review of one game, and he was right, and they almost derailed his career because of it, right? Because at that time, reviews were the lifeblood of this gaming industry, right? If the wrong review comes out at the big ass game, there goes millions of dollars of investment, right? But still, even in the face of all that, the MSRB has survived, and there's been never, ever, since Mortal Kombat created them in the 90s, there's never been evidence that they've been skewed one way or another based on monetary, even though they have every ability to do so, right? Because at the end of the day, yes, and yes, I will put that up because he's with you. I get you. Because at the end of the day, this are multi-billion-dollar budget games, right? You would think that they would squeeze the MSRB for the things that they can get. They have not been able to successfully do that. I'm just saying
the MSRB doesn't have teeth. The MSRB does not have teeth. You want to give it's just a rating. What you're talking about is giving them teeth.
A rating is just a rating. A rated R in a movie is just a rating, but it comes with a cost. Just as you know, if a movie goes from PG-13 to rated R, it comes with a cost. That's what the MSRB does.
What the body that you are talking about is something that has teeth in a way that leads to criminal prosecutions and all these other things.
I don't even have to go there. I don't even, like I said, it can just be a report. It's not about, we can throw you in jail, because the only people that can have teeth are the companies that regulate or the companies that employ the offender, right? But if you have a regulatory body, a body of individuals that are all within the same gaming space, and they have a report and they threaten to release that report unless you do something about it, because this will be not only from one person, it'll be a regulatory body that's agreed upon by Activision, by all of them. So they all agree that these are our people.
You want to stack this regulatory body that you think is going to be uncorruptible by people from the industry who they're supposed to regulate.
Because you know what? Not everybody's Bobby Kotick. Not everybody is there. And a lot of people within the industry hate this, but have no voice. If they're part of that body, they don't have to come out individually and go, hey, I'm Mr. Person, I dislike it. No, it'll be their job to work on that report. It'll be basically.
And you don't think they're going to stack that deck in their individual company's favor? You don't think Microsoft or Sony
it's
or
not
whoever
just
else?
One company that would regulate that. It would be Microsoft and Sony and Valve and Epic. Come on now.
This
Epic
sounds
is
like
known
a board.
for getting
This
in their
sounds
face
like
when
this
they get
sounds
a
to me
chance.
like a board of lobbyists that's going to be out there looking for their company.
You see, this is why none of these things ever work. These things, there's evidence of them working elsewhere. But as soon as you bring them up, the idea is, okay, let's work the logistics so it works. Instead, America goes, it's corrupt. It'll always be corrupt. Move on. Come on now.
Yeah, but
others have made it work.
This did not save Ubisoft. So where did it work to save them?
Well, but remember, that doesn't exist in the gaming space yet. It doesn't exist. Even in Europe, it does not exist yet, right? It should exist is my point. It's not that it doesn't. Quick example. When iPhone first came out, and the 3G first came out, and there were TV shows all over America going, finally, you can go on the internet the way it's meant to be on a phone. Yeah, that was released here, not allowed in the EU. You know why? Because that regulatory body came to the decision that, that's WAP. That's not the full HTML website. So you're giving false advertising, and our people will not stand for it. They force you to tell the truth, whether you like it or you don't. That's the way it should be. Rather than, let the market sort it out. Yeah, the market can say, okay, I'm part of the market, and so you're part of the market. I'll give them this, you give them that. Well, WWF in front of them, but in the background, nobody will see. Come on,
I'm saying that we are the market, and you want a board of people from these companies, not unlike how the pharmaceutical companies wrote the Affordable Health Care Act.
Yes, and again, you keep drawing from America. I get that. But while the Affordable Care Act was written by corrupt companies, and you're absolutely right, there's a regulatory body exactly the same way in the EU right now. And they keep epi prices low because they know how much it should cost. So while y'all are messing it up, there are others who are not. So stop dwelling on y'all who mess it up and maybe focus on those who don't. because America's not the only country that exists here.
I think you're pretending that Europe has all this shit figured out.
No,
they do not,
they have
sir.
problems too. They have problems too, but their problems are not what's here right now. They have solutions to our problems, and we have solutions to theirs. But right now, we're talking about our problems. So we need to look elsewhere that does have better solutions. That's all I'm saying. Doesn't mean that you have to take their word for it, soup to nuts. Maybe you bring it here and you change it a bit to work America. But the idea that, oh, it's broken, it won't work, that's not true, because we see it working elsewhere. We see it.
It's just basic workers and civil rights. That's all that needs to be.
That's right.
That's all that needs to be policed a bit
100%.
better. It's not about what you can do and what you can't do.
Works.
It's more about just there's your basic civil right. Like if you're getting sexually harassed, then that needs to be actioned. If it's a toxic environment internally, then a report needs to be drawn up. This regulatory body doesn't need to be kind of some big government kind of organization.
No.
It's just a complete and utter neutral party that has nothing to do with gaming in general, that just manages workplace behaviors.
Could be. That's right. Yeah.
So let me ask, and because I feel like we may be going in circles, so I want to move on a little bit after this. But I want to ask both of you a question. Mm-hmm. If the other employees in these companies had spoken up, like, okay, and I want to be clear, if you saw this happening and you were at Activision, would you shut up because you didn't want to lose your job, or would you say something? Both of you.
Say something.
I would say something as well.
You would say something.
But, although I would, and I completely understand, I also understand the plebe who's the tester who has worked their entire life to get here, and now here they are, they see this, they can't speak on it. I can understand that too, because look, how much courage did it take that person to put a thread out on the internet? How much courage does it take? Because they know the minute they do that, they're putting a literal target on their back. So those who choose not to speak, who don't sleep good at night because it bothers them, but they can't talk, I'm not gonna put blame on them. There should be other things in the system that's there to protect them, and not the other person's responsibility.
I'm not saying that people shouldn't be protected. That's literally the government's only job, to protect us. They failed at it for certain citizens, right?
Sure.
Yes. However, what I'm saying is, as people, right, we have power over the government, and the only power they have is what we allow them. They are here. They exist because we allow them to exist. And if there were more Wandering Dutches and more TK Kirklands and more Everborn sagas that would have saw that and said something, then we wouldn't even get to this point, because those situations would not have to taken place. So maybe there does need to be something, but we also need to take some ownership here. And everybody who didn't say anything because they were self-interested is also complicit. So people could have stopped this, and I think
here's a quick side.
Will be the solution in the end.
Here's a quick aside that tells me that may not be good enough. My daughter very soon is supposed to go to school, right? She's 4 years old. She's starting in her school. Amazing, right? The Delta variant is running rampant in Florida right now. This is where I live, right? I'm looking. Give me the parent some kind of semblance of safety, because the governor around here is a complete shit show. Complete. We won't go there. Absolute horrible shit show. That human being needs to be tarred and feathered and put in the streets. Needless to say.
Which tells me he's going to end up being president. But continue.
America, continue. Anyway, so now here I am, and I'm like, tell me, she's going to be only for a few hours. Every time I go and ask, what are the policies? Well, we're relying on Florida policies. What are the Florida policies? Free for all, no masks allowed. Do whatever the hell you want. That's Florida policy currently. Okay, and basically now my only recourse to making sure my child stays safe while she's there is making sure that my 4-year-old remembers to keep a mask on her face. If that's the only recourse I have, I'm already lost. There needs to be somebody who is more responsible, because she'll forget 1,000,001 times in one day. But if I have to rely only on her because there's nothing else in place, then I'm screwed. Then she might as well stay home for a year. That's the turmoil I'm in right now, by the way. This is I'm letting you know. This is where I'm coming from with it. If you rely on just that one person,
But
Come
this is
on
my
now.
point. You can't rely on that one person, and people need to get together and say, my neighbor exists and I care about them. And if people got together,
more selfish gamer.
No fucking asshole governor or president or CEO could get away with this shit. But we continuously think about ourselves, especially
because they do their best to make us think that we are by ourselves.
I don't know how it is.
The marketing machine does that
in the utopia of Europe, right? But in America, people are selfish. And if we stop doing that, we stop thinking about that. And I'm not making this political.
Well, see, and that's why I always try to say, take the decision out of the hand of the selfish people, because changing that is going to be a longer thing.
But again, without being political at all, whatever side of the aisle you seen what it, on, hold on.
It happens.
What I'm saying is this whole George Floyd fiasco. When cities were burning, that was the first time. Not that I want to see cities burn, but if you are not doing your job, the only thing we have given you power for, then the people will take the power back. And that is what that showed me. And I think that there should be more of that when these people don't do what they're supposed to do. We have afforded you this power, Mr. CEO, Mr. Governor, Mr. Police Chief, Mr. Judge, all of that. We've afforded you this power of the people, right? There's more of us than there are of you. And if you don't do what we said for you to do, we will take all of that back and burn this whole shit down. And it will be mutually assured destruction.
And I hear you on that.
Or else.
Before we continue on with all this, I hear you. But since that time, how many black people have been killed and still nothing has changed? Let's keep it moving.
Maybe we need more. Maybe more targets need to burn down. I don't know.
I hear you, and I hope you're right. My sister's a doctor. She had triplet boys who had it. It was no big deal. 2 weeks later, they were in the ICU because after COVID, there's some unforeseen like all three of them were one by one on the deathbed. And they're all good now. But I cannot live in a world where I can just hope for the best. We need better than that, is all I'm saying.
Yep.
But okay. This is not a conversation that we will be solving on this podcast. And as you can see, there's passions from all aspects of it. But I honestly think from the root of it, we all agree that this is something that needs to be worked on. We have difference in opinion on the logistics to go about it, but to leave it like this and just to go, it's a problem.
I think we all want to end up in the same place. It is how we get there.
It's how we get exactly.
That is the room for debate, which is what it should be.
Where we can all agree is that talking about it, shedding light on it, shaming those who need to be shamed, encouraging those among us to speak more about it, that all helps. And I'm going to continue to do that. And I appreciate you, Everborn Saga, for challenging me on my ideas.
It all roots from this old boy mentality. That's the problem with sexual harassment. It all roots from this old school old boy mentality, and unfortunately, roots from the way these particular people have been brought up in the first place, and the peers that they look up to. If those peers didn't have that same mentality, they wouldn't have that same mentality. Unfortunately, things like that. Yeah.
And I think we also need to take into account, a lot of people like to look at today as, we are enlightened as we are, and try to sort of take that back. Because I do think we all do grow and evolve, right? I watched Animal House, when it came out, and I thought it was hilarious.
I loved it.
You watch it today, you're like, whoa, hold on, right? So people do grow and evolve, and I think we gotta look at things today and say these are the rules of today, and not saying if anybody was actually hurt in the past that they shouldn't get their retribution. They should, but I think that's part of the discussion too, understanding that we are constantly growing and evolving. It's a lot of rap music I used to listen to that
I can't stand anymore. That's right. That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's just the
we
the
grow
nature
and
of,
we change. Indeed.
Yeah.
So let me button this up and say, I appreciate you guys joining in the conversation. Oh, Boom came in and out of nowhere. Well, okay, I did see him in the background saying, "Hey, let me jump in," and then the Dutch man jumped in out of really nowhere, and I really appreciate you jumping in. Hey, whenever you want to jump in on a conversation, bro, the door is open for you. The invite is always out there. We love having conversation with you. This is one of those back and forths that we're gonna have a lot of. We like having these conversations where we poke the bear, if you will. We may not come to a solution, but we appreciate the chats in here with us. We have some new names, some faces. We appreciate the convo. Y'all make this conversation much better. All you guys coming in here and challenging us. Challenge me on what I think.
Hold on, wait.
We appreciate that.
Look at OG. If I let Batman do his job.
Oh, that's what we call a callback from slanders of the past.
God damn. You know what? I would be on board with Batman being the regulatory body that investigates these companies. Detective Batman.
Batman and Deadpool.
Detective Batman.
That's it.
That'd be great. But okay, we're gonna close this up for this week because we've gone on about it, and I think this conversation we're gonna continue having. I'm sure we're gonna take a different spin on it on Monday's primetime gaming with Mr. Boomstick. So I'm sure most of you know who that is. He was here. If you don't know, once again, Mondays it was 7 o'clock Eastern Standard. Come join us. We're gonna continue this conversation there with a bigger panel. Mr. Everborn Saga, I appreciate you challenging me on my notions. I will continue to challenge you on yours because that's what this is for, and I think we all benefit from that. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I think we should sharpen the swords of our ideas through through the combat of debate.
Through the combat of debate. That's right.
We should all do that. Just even when we agree on something, we should fight it out and look at things from all different angles, just to make sure you're right. If you have an idea and it cannot be challenged, then it's a bad idea.
It might not be a good idea. Yes, right. And at the end of the day, if it is a great idea, at the end of the debate, it'll be sharper than it was before, and you might have learned something, or you might have learned that your idea was better than you thought it was. It's all good. So I enjoy this.
And I continue to learn that I have good ideas. But go ahead.
Yeah. I have learned that you've been skewed by the corruption that is America, but that's neither here nor there. Dutch, again, thank you so much for joining us. Tell all the people who happen to have been here, who will watch this later, where they can find you, where they can keep up with your amazing work. And again, happy birthday, happy episode birthday on your show, sir. Please tell the fine people where they can find you.
Certainly, yeah. The whole 12 month in the game now on podcasting. So one whole year done, and that was a mad podcast. But
that was a great show, man. That was a great show. I loved it. It was a great show.
It was next to no gaming news in that show, by the way. It was just mad.
I had it on all day. I'm in the chat. Like every time I turn my head, a new guest. I'm like, yo, they got Cog in here now. Now they got this person. I loved it. It was a great show. Loved it. It was real cool.
It was good. Cool. It was really good fun. I couldn't do that every week though, because I literally just zoomed out yesterday. It was just dead. I was just on my back. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Wondering Dutch and on YouTube at Wondering Dutch, which is the home of the Midweek Mix-Up podcast, which is every Wednesdays at 2 p.m. EST, whilst it's daylight saving time. Otherwise, when we go back to the winter, it'll be 3 p.m. EST.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please, if you don't follow this man, if you haven't checked out his stuff, it's always positive, multicultural community. He's on a chat with so many places from so many different places, so many people with different voices. Always great to have to just be in the chat and listen in and have conversations with his community. So please, if you're not following this man, correct yourself and go do that. And then, of course, Mr. Everborn Saga, the slanderer himself, please remind people of who you be and where you at.
I am Everborn. I am the gamer formerly known as Romeo RX2. You can find me at Everborn Saga everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Xbox, PlayStation. I keep all my gaming history out there. You can go and see it. It doesn't bother me. But most importantly, you can check out everbornsaga.com, where we have officially released Ariel's Adventure Chapter 1, and we are the only place where you can get the hardcover deluxe edition of Prince of Arcadia Volume 1, which includes chapters 1 and 2. Chapter 3 is also available, and chapter 4 will probably be coming sometime next month. And then we got another book on the way. And like I said, we'll be at New York Comic Con. But everbornsaga.com. Check out those books, and you see that poster behind me. You see the comic up there. We got shirts. We got the Everborn cap, because I've graduated to capology.
Capping.
Right.
That's right. You cap it.
so you can get that there too. Check it out. We got a lot of merchandise there. You can get up to date on the Everborn Saga and check it out. Hopefully one day we'll get a review from Slow Mo, the fantasy man. But thanks everybody. Thank you Pixel. Thank you Paulie Baba. Thank you OG. Obviously, we're gonna have some more He-Man talk on Thursdays on the Real. Big Bad Mo was I think the first one in here. We had Mag Boom. Everybody, Scrub Nurse, of course. So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Everborn Saga everywhere, but most importantly, everbornsaga.com.
All right. And you can find me, TKOASANTE on Twitter.
TK Kirkland.
Stop it. And of course, my man, the Slanderer. Don't let us die. He is the Slanderer Saga. Don't forget that. Anyways, again, prime time. We'll be on there on Monday, continuing this conversation. On Wednesday, you'll catch us on the Slanderers channel, and we will have On the Real the next episode. I'm sure there will still be a lot of Masters of the Universe talk. It gets absolutely slanderous on there. If you like Batman, you may want to clutch your purses, because the man goes in sometimes. All I will say is his words don't represent the entire panel. We have to put a disclaimer.
Yes, I do. It represents it offline. I'm saying, don't listen to him I just say what they say in the DMs. They don't want to say it out loud.
Brother, real quick.
Yeah, whatever.
We appreciate everybody who's continuing to join the conversation. Thank you guys so much. We'll be here next week, but until then, peace out.